Good evening, everyone, or morning. Sorry, feels like it's evening as long as I've been up already. Yeah. Yeah. So, interesting day going on so far today. Yesterday it was 54 degrees. I'm getting the goop out of my eyes here because the furnace was just blowing up here and dried my eyes out. There we go. All right. So, yeah, it was 54 yesterday. I did some pruning on the peach and apricot trees out there, and now we got that much snow on there and it's still coming down. So yeah, we got a little snowstorm coming in after a nice warm temperatures yesterday. And I froze. All right, so we had 5 people in here. Now we got 4. All right, someone came in, saw my comment about trolls, so they left. Yesterday, I started late yesterday. I went to the store, got several nice pieces of meat at Sam's Club on discount on Wednesday morning discounts, and I got one right now, a nice roast in the crock pot. So you can't smell it, but oh man, it smells good in here. Oh yeah, a lot of onion, a lot of garlic, a little chipotle Tabasco sauce in there. Oh yeah, it smells good. All right, so let's go and say hi to everybody here. All right, first one in was Super Scout. I haven't seen him for a while, but he's in here again. Then we got Walt Rogers, Troop 1351. And let's see. And okay, those are the only ones. But it's the beginning of the month, so I can give away 5 memberships, and I gave away 5. I got 5 more to give away later this month. The ones who got that are, it doesn't show up here on StreamYard, but it does show up over on the YouTube side. So, Calilicious, 1111, Siggy, Siggy 23, Melinda Elliott, Texas Rider, Yarn Barf, and that's one I used to know went over on Garden State's Gardeners Sunday Fun Day. So she came over and joined from that. And so, all right, that's where we're at right now. And so I threw this up there, and yeah, they trolls are not going to be happy because that's going to be the first thing they see at the top of the comments. But hey, you want to be a troll? Be a troll. But hey, that's the way it is. You got to be a subscriber to make comments. Not a member, just a subscriber. Subscribing's free. All righty, so let's switch over here and move me up into that corner up there. Boom, there we go. And where is it? Oh, that's why it's got to go with, boom, there it comes. All right. All righty, so things were a little bit interesting yesterday, and they're going to get a lot more interesting today. All right, so actually the next couple chapters are like turning the world upside down for Michael and Kimberly. All right, so let me go ahead and unhighlight this. For those that don't realize, I highlight this so I know exactly where I stop, especially if I stop in the middle of a chapter, and that way everything's all set ready for me to go in. All righty. Community meetings, October 26, 2037, 5th day after it passes. Actually, I want to change that. Here. I want to change this to after the come on. After, can't tell. The light's not working here. Come on, get it up there. Move my keyboard a little bit closer again. All right, there we go. Kimberly was moving a bit slower getting out of bed this morning. She and Nora had come up with a partial idea to Nora's dilemma of keeping her real identity secret from the Marines being stationed at the new Camp Resurrection, and by extension, General Donaldson, Sack Davies, and the rest who were on the conference call the night before. When they went back to talk to the Houstons, Nola was surprised that Nola was surprised that the two had not come up with a complete plan. But after she and Albert made a few suggestions, Nora settled on a plan and set about putting it into action. Nola Harper would take one of the pickups the Heaven Devils had brought and go back to Tempe to try to find and rescue a friend that had survived the flood of the Tempe area. In reality, they would hide the pickup in the woods on the Clark's property under a tarp. Nora would move into Michael and Kimberly's trailer as Eleanor Smythe, as Commander, CAMM, OMMAND, Eleanor Smythe, and would just be that persona until it was time for her to go away. Then when Eleanor went away, then Nora would return empty-handed from Tempe. They asked the Houstons to go with them to talk to Nora's family about their plan. The twins, Marcy and Linda, were excited about it, in part because they wouldn't have to share their room with Nora while she was gone. Lisa, Nora's mom, was less than thrilled, and Greg said he was proud of her daughter for taking on the responsibility of Commander Smythe, but had some reservations. After the Houstons explained that this would be a way to protect her family, Greg and Lisa said they understood and were more supportive of the plan. They packed up Nora's things for storage and took some of them to the Clarks for her to use, others to hide in the pickup. When Greg found some camouflage hunting clothing that almost matched the pattern of the Royal Navy combat utility uniform, Lisa had started altering it to fit Nora the day before. To Lisa, the uniforms are just sort of a Halloween thing. The costume thing. But now they were taking on a new, unsettling, serious aspect. Lisa also downloaded patterns for the Royal Navy's dress uniform when Nora had first started playing Commander Smythe. They got just about everything they could think of when the site went down. By the time they were done, it was after 11 p.m., and they knew they were in for a hard, exhausting run in the morning. Now Kimberly knew how hard it was going to be. She thought about removing some of the weight from her pack, but decided against it. It wouldn't look right. Besides, Peyton would know and would say something. Now they ran to the maintenance building and picked up those from the Kaibab campground and headed over to the former Forest Service workstation, now the heart of Camp Resurrection, and picked up those who were able to exercise. Lieutenant Zach Polson had his cast wrapped securely to his chest so he could make the run. Although though he would take one of the shorter, come on, damn it, SHORT, one of the shorter trails trails until he was back in shape. All right. Several others that were on limited duty tried to join in. Larry introduced himself as their new captain and informed those that were on limited duty or restricted duty that if they violated their doctor's instructions, he would transfer them to the Air Force forthwith. Several stepped out, joining the smarter ones who knew better than to push their injuries. Then they swung by the Jacob Lake campground and picnic site to pick up those from Douglas's group. Then on to the Jacob Lake Inn for the rest. At several points along the route, smaller groups peeled off and headed to the maintenance building or picnic site. At 10.1 miles, they completed the loop and reached the Kaibab campground. Those from that group and the inn broke off with Michael and Larry and headed to the maintenance building where Colonel Houston was waiting. The rest followed Kimberly, Peyton, and Douglas to the equipment building of Camp Resurrection where Lieutenant Nola Houston was waiting. Lieutenant Colonel Nola Houston was waiting. The members of the Cooper group were given the choice to, the members of the Cooper's group were given the choice to join the Marines for PT or head back to their site. They all stayed, if nothing more than to rest and observe what the PT training entailed. Lieutenant Colonel Nola Houston began by informing the Marines that she and her husband had been recalled to active duty the day before by General Donaldson, formerly of the 4th Forcon. And if you can hear it, it's a little louder than normal. I hear the UPS power station powering starting to recharge. It's got the fans winding up as it's cooling down the charger as it recharges the battery. Major Cooper was recalled by the president himself, Major Douglas Cooper. Douglas Cooper was recalled by the president himself. Master Sergeant Grimm was recruited from the Army Rangers to help rebuild the 3rd Forcon. Then, as she introduced Kimberly, several of the members of the Cooper's group. Hang on, I need to correct something up above here because it's there. I just realized some people may not connect. Douglas's group and the Cooper group is the one and the same. So just trying to put some clues in there. Then, as she introduced Kimberly, several members of the Cooper's group who had not been on the morning run came in, joining those off to the side, observing. Lieutenant Colonel Houston continued. This is Lieutenant Jackson. For those of you who remember Major Jackson, this is his daughter. He started her training when she was 4. years old, so she has more training than most of you. Master Gunnery Sergeant Dyer said she was the scariest person she ever sparred with, and that was when she was 14. Now she's a third-level instructor in Jet Kundo and will oversee the sergeants in charge of your PT and hand-to-hand. Peyton coughed. Yes, Master Sergeant Grimm. I have $200 to anyone who can out-PT the lieutenant. Peyton grinned as several of the Marines started to puff their chests up. However, Kimberly barked, when you embarrassments to the Corps lose, and you will lose, you'll run another 10 miles with a pack as heavy as mine. Take you, take you 1, 2, 3, about 2 hours. Then she started to unsnap her pack straps. Oh, damn, Peyton groaned under his breath and then barked. You two, he pointed to him. Get that cable and put it right in front of the lieutenant fast. Kimberly's face scrunched up as she tried to suppress a smile and shook her head. Then she cocked her head slightly and looked at Peyton and continued to shake her head. When the two Marines put the table in front of her, Peyton spoke again. Did anyone notice that Lieutenants Jackson and Moore kept slowing down so all of you could keep up around, and everyone that was looking slightly away in one direction or another? I did, Nola said. I was watching from a distance, and as I shadowed you in one of the quads. It took us 15 minutes longer to do 10 miles than it normally does, Kimberly stated as she finished unsnapping the clasp on her pack. She then slung it around and let it land on the table with a deep thud that reverberated through the room. And you didn't even have a pack on for today's run. She smiled and looked over at Jenny Holland, except for Recruit Holland, whose pack only weighed roughly half what this pack does. She turned back to Peyton. Master Sergeant Grimm, yes, Lieutenant Jackson. Why would you even try to get these embarrassments to challenge me? Because they're not embarrassed enough to make themselves work harder. They need more motivation. Okay, Kimberly smiled wickedly. Who wants a shot at Sergeant Grimm's $200? Six of the Marines stepped forward. Form a line, Peyton called out and stepped towards them. Here are the rules. 1, Lieutenant Jackson picks what to do. 2, you have to do it exactly the way she does. 3, you have to do one more than her to beat her. Do you 6 think you're up to it? Kimberly asked. No problem, Lieutenant. One of the more cut looking of the 6 said pridefully. Jenny Holland spoke up. Lieutenant, this recruit requests permission to wager push-ups on this contest. Explain. I want to bet on you. When you win, and whoever bet against you with me has to do my push-ups whenever I'm told to do push-ups. And if you should lose by some outrageous miracle, I would have to do theirs. Kimberly struggled to suppress a laugh as she looked at Nola. Genius. It is, Nola responded. I'm good with that. Okay, recruit, go ahead and make your wagers. Ooh. I can feel it already, the lack of sleep. Thank you, Lieutenant. Jenny smiled and then turned to the other Marines. I bet 200 push-ups that none of those 6 will beat Lieutenant Jackson. None of them. If any of them win, then I lose. Any takers? Several Marines started to open their mouths, and several Marines opened their mouths and started to speak but hesitated. Really? Jenny asked in dismay. Then she turned to the 6 that thought they could out to Kimberly. It seems your fellow Marines don't have much confidence in your abilities. Any of you want to wager push-ups? The more cut of the Marines. Hang on here. Hang on, I got to go back up here. I got to fix that. A corporal, one of the more hang on here. The corporal snickered. Recruit Holland, only 200. You don't seem to have much confidence in the lieutenant. How about latrine duty for the next 3 months? Well, Corporal Wells, how about latrine duty for the next 6 months? And 6 months, 2,000 push-ups, 1,000 sit-ups, and 500 pull-ups, Jenny countered. You're on, Corporal Wells chuckled. Is there anyone else here that is Marine enough and not an Air Force pansy? Jenny said. The older men in the group of observers sat up straight and glared. All the Marines stiffened at Jenny's jab, and 3 more made the wager of 200 push-ups. Once the wagers were made, Jenny turned to Kimberly, saw the look of annoyance on her face. I apologize for the delay. She dropped it to push-up into the push-up ready position. How many? 20 fast ones. Jenny started doing fast push-ups. Faster. When Jenny finished, Kimberly rolled her shoulders. Get ready to gear up like I am. Then she bent over, keeping her legs straight, put her palms on the concrete floor, leaned forward slightly, and lifted her feet up until she was doing a handstand. These are the push-ups you have to do. She began by doing 10 two-handed push-ups and lifted one hand, did 10 one-handed push-ups, then switched hands and started doing 10 more. Are you ready to admit defeat? 5 of the 6 acknowledged they had lost without even trying. Corporal Wells said that he could do that, although he didn't sound too convincing. How about this? And Kimberly changed hands, only she used just one finger. What the F? Corporal Wells exclaimed. Corporal Wells, do you concede? A shocked Corporal Wells nodded and said, yes, you win. Yes, Jenny exclaimed and pumped her fist. Kimberly quickly lowered her legs, stood up, and stared hard at Jenny, who had a single finger held up, asking for a moment. All of you that lost your wages to me, I'm forgiving him. I just wanted to make a point. I need to do those exercises myself so that I can one day do what Lieutenant Jackson just did. And I hope she'll allow me to apologize to her father on another manner when he comes in several weeks. But the major is dead, one of the Marines exclaimed. No, Lieutenant Colonel Houston spoke up. General Donaldson informed us yesterday that he was informed 2 days ago that Major Jackson had been held prisoner by the Taliban and escaped on the 18th, that he made his way to Gizar Air Base in time to catch the last flight out. On the 20th, he was on the USS Gerald R. Ford recuperating and will be joining General Donaldson as his XO in a couple weeks. 3 days ago, Major Jackson was promoted to full colonel. So I have 3, maybe 4 weeks to get you embarrassments back into fighting shape. Those that served under my father, I will not allow you to embarrass him by how lax you have become. If he could spend almost 2.5 years as a prisoner, escape, and make his way back to us, then you can get your sorry selves back into being the pride of the Marine Corps. Kimberly growled with fire in her eyes. Just then, one of the doors opened. One of the doors in the back of the equipment bay of the equipment building next to the roll-up doors. Sorry, this is confusing. Let me reread it here. Just then, one of the doors opened in the back of the equipment building next to the roll. That's why I need a comma there. Comma next to the roll-up doors, and a man came in and started rolling up one of the roll-up doors. I have a delivery for you, Kimberly, Eddie Baker said as he rolled up the bay door. Once it was up, a trailer backed in with 2 wooden men for martial arts in it. Those will be much appreciated and well used, Mr. Baker, Kimberly replied. And there are 6 extra arms in case you break another one or 6. And there are extra arms in case you break another 1 or 6. Kimberly blushed. I'll try to be more careful, Mr. Baker. It's not a problem, Kimberly, Eddie replied with a smile. I think it's amazing that you can break them so easily. Master Sergeant, get them unloaded, Major Douglas Cooper ordered. Aye, Major. Peyton acknowledged. Let's move it, Marines. After the woodmen were unloaded and set to where Kimberly wanted them, Eddie asked if she thought she needed platforms under him like she had for her. Hang on. Like she had for hers. Got to get it right. Kimberly asked the Marines. Oh, I thought it was going blank, going schizo again over here. And then it was just winking out for a second. Kimberly asked the Marines if any of them had been taught how to use wooden men. 2 of them said they had, and she told them to demonstrate on the wooden men. As they increased their speed and power of their strikes, the wooden men began to slide across the floor. These will need platforms, Mr. Baker. We'll go get them made and bring them over. Thank you. Lieutenant, they weren't moving that much, Corporal Wells noted. For you and for now, but when you get better, they will move a lot. All right, hang on a second here, folks. I got to go get my energy drink whipped up here real quick so I can come back and do this without nodding off or yawning so wide you can see my molars. All right, I am back, and I got my energy mix here. All right. Um, so for you and for now, but when you get better, they'll move a lot. Would you please show us what you mean? He asked sincerely. Kimberly nodded and stepped over to one of the wooden men. Eddie Baker quickly stepped up with his cell phone out recording. For those of you who don't know, you start out slow, not hitting, just making contact. You will increase the force of contact little by little. What you're doing is building muscle memory, so you move and hit what you need to when you speed up your strikes like this. Suddenly, she was moving so fast that her hands were a blur for a second time. The impacts of her blows against the loose arms of the wooden man sounded like bursts of machine gun fire. As her blows increased in speed and power, the wooden man began to move away from her faster and faster across the smooth painted floor. As soon as she was walking at a normal pace after the wooden man, she guided it across the floor, turning it with specifically placed kicks and elbow strikes. She stopped striking the man and let it come to a stop. Then she walked over to it, turned sideways to it. So walked over. Let me take out that too many. Walked over and turned sideways to it. She held out her right hand with her elbow slightly bent and her fingers touching it. Her fingertips touching it. Until her fingertips touched it. And look at the man, she spoke to him. I will teach you to use your body as a weapon. She took a breath and held it for seconds, then yelled, "Yeah!" and punched the wooden man without pulling her hand back. It slid away from her for about 10 feet. Holy cats and jammer kids, one of the Marines exclaims. Others used some more extreme expletives. Watch the language, Peyton shouted. As I said, I will teach you to be the weapon. So you don't have to rely on firearms all the time. This will also teach you control both in body and mind. Recruit Holland, what happened yesterday when you almost lost your head? Peyton asked. Oops, that should be a lowercase. Peyton asked. Looking down and blushing slightly, Jenny took a breath and began. Last week, I went AWOL to rescue my 17-year-old sister after our aunt, with whom she was staying with, was killed. Before I joined the Corps, I spent some time as a guest with the Heavens Devils after they freed me from human traffickers. I thought that time would give me certain amount of protection with them and from them. I was wrong. Yesterday, as they were heading to the North Rim, the convoy was intercepted and they were killed, with some being taken prisoner for questioning. She looked down again before continuing. They had taken my pickup and supplies, so we weren't able to, so we wouldn't just leave. and gave me and my sister a motorcycle. We were in the last group of the convoy heading here when they entered the trap. We were doing about 10 miles an hour when Lieutenant Jackson slipped out from her hiding spot, came up from the rear of the column, and began decapitating the motorcycle drivers and most of their passengers with her sword. She shivered. My sister and I were the last ones she got to and were taken prisoners. She shivered again and took a breath. And it was only because I spotted the team she assigned to take the 4 pickups in front of us, swarming the pickups before she got to us, and I quickly raised my hands in surrender. You did one smart thing, added Master Sergeant Grimm. That was a half second before I would have taken your head. But control stopped my blade. Control is how I moved the woodman around where I wanted it. Control is how I do one-finger push-ups. Control is how I catch arrows in the air. Lack of control is how I break the arms of the wooden man. Wait a second, Staff Sergeant Lynn spoke up. You catch arrows in the air, sir? I've seen the videos, Jenny said. I've watched her do it and other amazing things, Peyton added. But how does the lack of controls cause you to break the arms of the wooden man? I would think you need more control to break them, Staff Sergeant Lynn Cole said. Having strength to break something is not control. Using that strength to break something is not necessarily control. Using that strength up to and stopping just before you break something is control, Kimberly explained. Control turns brute force into accuracy, which means you don't have to use as much force. So why did you break the arms last time? Lynette Cole asked carefully. She thought I was the one that had gotten her father killed, and that I'd betrayed the Corps, and she was warming up to give me a serious beatdown, Jenny said. Yeah, Kimberly said with a heavy exhale. I was out of control. I almost destroyed the wooden man. My anger was killing my mind, and I lost control. Kimberly took a deep breath and blew it out. Now that I know my dad is alive, that has released a lot of the anger that I was carrying inside of me for the last 2.5 years. And now that you've changed your wedding date, Nola asked. I feel a lot more in control, Kimberly smiled. Now I feel better able to teach, control, and not be hypocritical doing it. She looked at the Marines. I will teach you control to use your bodies as weapons, and Master Grimm will show you how control turns spray and prey into one shot, one kill. And that is what you'll be going to be doing, and that is what you're going to be retrained to do. Single shot kills, hand-to-hand kills. Conserve as much ammunition as we can, Lieutenant Colonel Houston said. Until ammunition manufacturing come back online, we use as little as we can. Which is why we are looking for those with archery experience. We will be teaching archery sniping, Kimberly added. Lieutenant Moore will teach you to use the bow and arrow to defeat our enemies and sow fear amongst them. But for now, we'll start PT, Peyton barked. All in. Yes, Master Sergeant, Jenny shouted back, and the rest followed suit. Strip off all gear other than your Marine Corps combat utility uniform, pants, t-shirts, and boots, Peyton said with a slight snicker. Kimberly stepped back over the table where her pack was at. Tomorrow, everyone will wear their full gear for the run. Your pack can be adjusted as you build up your endurance. Her tactical vest hit the table with a reverbing thud. Then her plate carrier. She stripped off her uniform blouse to expose her dragon scale body armor. She peeled that off and tossed it on the table. Holy fudgesicle, a Lance Corporal said. You did those push-ups with all that weight on? Proper procedure, barked Peyton. I beg everyone's pardon, especially yours, Lieutenant. Forgiven. Kimberly said flatly it was not a big deal. What are you perplexed about, Lance Corporal? How? All that weight, how? Years and years of training, came a voice from the shadows on the far side of the equipment maintenance building. It was followed by the sharp sounds of heels of dress shoes striking the concrete floor. Concrete floor. Let me scroll this up. I'm not happy with you, Lieutenant Jackson. Hang on, I got it. Put it in there. So make sure everybody doesn't mess up here. COMMAND, Commander SMYT Smythe. Commander Smythe, Nora, said in her British accent. Your CIA file states that you were 7 when you started learning Jeet Kune Do, and you were about to receive your 4th instructor level before this started with the asteroid. And that your master is Diana Lee Inosanto, Bruce Lee's goddaughter, but it doesn't say anything about you having also studied with her father, Ken Inosanto, or that he was the one who tested you. Hang on, I got this right. Comma. Sorry, I need to put excuse me. Who? And she also studied with her father, Dan Inosanto, Bruce Lee's best friend and Grand Master of Jeet Kune Do, or that he was the one who tested you for your 1st, 2nd, and 3rd instructor levels. I didn't think it mattered to Clarkston, Kim. Early. Hang on. Yes. Said with a shrug. SHRU. Said with a shrug. I just found out that you also trained with Eric Paulson, Salem Asley, Ron Blackie, and Brenda King. And others. Kimberly shrugged. Again, what about it? We're partners. You should have shared that information. I didn't want to appear to be bragging, and it's not like I spent that much time training with him. Nor, hang on. Control C. Commander Smythe, Nora, looked down her nose at Kimberly. Okay, I spent a good deal of time with Ron Blackie, but that's only because he's married to Diana. And when we moved to Tempe, I would spend most of my summers at their house. That's where I met Uncle Dan and the others. What is this all about, Lieutenant Colonel? Lieutenant Jackson has not been totally totally forthcoming with all of her skill sets that she's learned since she was 7. I found out from Dana Asano that she also started learning Filipino martial arts, aka arnes, shoot wrestling, Krav Maga, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Eskrima, Muay Thai, and Salat. And I trained with Nori Nakamura for one summer while he was visiting Uncle Dan, a month with Teki Kimura, and 3 months with Wendy Chung. That's what I mean. You had a lot of masters for your teachers, all great masters. Who didn't you train with? Hang on. Who didn't you train with? James Yim Lee, Johnny Lacoste, Ed Parker, and Chaya Sarusu. The latter is the only one still alive. At least I hope he is. That's what I'm talking about. You are bloody well on your way to being the next Grand Master, Nora said. Emotion. No, hang on here. Emotionally elaborated, and you never mentioned it. You're one to talk. You never said that you were a member of the royal family until the president came on the conference call last night, Your Grace. And Kimberly bowed. She had a hard time hiding the grin on her face as gas came from those present, and the Marines came to attention. Enough of that. Snapped. I am no longer a member of the royal family. I was disinherited, kicked out. You know that. Nora paused dramatically. And that's why you said it. I don't believe I will fully understand your sense of humor. Good. Okay, I am. Kimberly smiled. Smiled back at her. Commander Smythe, Nora grumbled under her breath, then spoke aloud. Anyways, Lieutenant Moore asked me if I'd give these to you. If I would bring these to you. She held out Kimberly's bow case and gym bag and looked at Lieutenant Colonel Houston. Colonel Houston asked me to help do an observation on the current returning military personnel. Excuse me, one of the men from Donaldson's group spoke up. I can't get the feeling that these two are putting on a show for us. That could be true, but have you noticed how engrossed everyone is in their exchange? Nola replied, Mr. Robbie Johnson, Major, U.S. Air Force Security Police, retired. Major, Commander Smythe and Lieutenant Jackson have a habit of planning out these exchanges in a way to get everybody to pay closer attention than usual to the detail to the inform. Pay closer attention than usual to the inform. Pay closer attention than the usual to the information they want to convey. A bit unorthodox, but very effective. She smiled. So in that aspect, it is a show. Nora walked over to Robbie Jensen, held her hand out. I am Eleanor Mary Elizabeth Smythe. Robbie took the hand and shook it. Third child, second daughter of Duke Anthony Robert Smythe and Lady Jessica Marguerite Windsor Smythe. Hang on, that's supposed to be accented. Windsor Smythe. My mother is the fourth cousin of King Arthur Philip George and his wife Elizabeth Coburg of Kent. I am fifth and favorite cousin of their son Edward, Prince of Wales. I was a rather unruly teenager and joked to my mother and become a solicitor of the crown as my father wanted. As I had graduated secondary school early, she decided to take me up on my jest, and on my 16th birthday, my mom took me to the Admiralty, and I was commissioned as a sub-lieutenant. My father disowned me, thinking I had tricked my mother into signing the permission form. I told her not to argue the point with him. Nora paused and took a breath and continued. Over the next 5 years, I received 3 promotions, which I believe Edward had a hand in, but he claims otherwise. 1 month after I was made commander, I was killed with several other officers in an explosion and fire on the aircraft carrier Prince Richard. When a fuel line was improperly attached to a Harrier, came loose. However, rumors have it that I was not killed, but just received minor burns and was given a new face via plastic surgery and was transferred to MI6. Rumors are not always completely true. She reached up and brushed back the hair of the blue wig, exposing some burnt scarring on her cheek, ear, and neck. That was the latex makeup courtesy of Corey. Former Major Robbie Jensen stiffened. My apologies if I seem disrespectful. Not at all, but I do have an inquiry for you. Are you planning to or open to returning to active duty? Robbie shook his head. I retired on a medical injury. Sometimes it's all I can do to tie my boots. Would you consider helping train the local residents now that Captain Robinson and Master Sergeant Grimm and the Lieutenants Jackson and Moore will be busy training Marine recruits? Maybe classroom training? Nora asked. I could lend a hand doing that. Excellent. They will get with you to go over their curriculum, Nora said in an upbeat tone. Are there any other retired military personnel to be willing to help you train the local residents? He turned to look like those that were there with him observing. A couple indicated they might be interested in helping. No, happened. Oh, we just had someone else just come in. Welcome. Then one young girl raised her hand, tentatively looking at Nora. Yes, Commander Smythe asked. Why are you wearing a mask? Tina, barked one of the dads. It's all right, Nora said quickly, holding her hand up to the dad. Do you remember what happened to me on the aircraft? You were killed in it. You were killed. Hang on, do it this way here. You were killed in a explosion and fire. Tina stopped and scrunched her face up. But you didn't die. You were burnt. Is that why you wear the mask? Yes, some people can't look at me. It makes them sick. Is it that gross? Tina asked with sadness and trepidation in her voice. To some people, turning her head and moving the wig a little, Tina sucked her breath and said, "I hope you get better soon." Thank you, Tina. An older teenager was very slowly making her way around the edge of the room, getting closer to Kimberly, staring at her inquisitively as she got closer. Kimberly caught the movement out of the corner of her eye. Master Sergeant Grimm, get them through their PT and then send them out for another 10-mile run, Kimberly snapped. Okay, yes, Lieutenant. Kimberly snapped. Aye, Lieutenant, Peyton called out, then added, all right, you lazy children, assume the forward-leaning rest position. Master Sergeant Grimm, Kimberly snapped. Yes, Lieutenant. Some of the children around here are in better shape than these devil puppies. This is going to take a lot of work and time. Peyton struggled to keep a straight face. Right you are, Lieutenant. Gunnery Sergeant Oliver. Staff Sergeant Cole. How could you let yourselves get like this? Kimberly chided as she set out her bow and gear. So that was very slowly working around the edge of the room towards it was about 30 feet away. Kimberly was still watching her with her peripheral vision as she opened the gym bag and removed her ninja outfit, setting on the table next to her pack and other gear. Kimberly thought she was 14 or 15. When the girl was about 20 feet away, she sped up her movements and got noticed by the others. First Sergeant Young barked, "Sally!" and the girl stopped. Hang on. And the girl stopped and stiffened. Stand down, First Sergeant. Kimberly said loudly. Aye, Lieutenant. First Sergeant answered, standing straight. Then Kimberly turned to Sally. Is there something I can do for you, Sally? Is your fiance Super Scout? Sally asked very nervously. Why would you think I have a fiance? Because, I mean, you are Juby Chan, aren't you? Why would you think that I am this Juby Chan? The videos, she said, as if that explained everything. In them, they say Juby Chan, the ninja girl, is really Kimberly Jackson. Your name tag says K. Jackson. You have to be her. Hang on. You have to be her. What I don't get is why you're not wearing your eye patch. Your eye was hurt in a school chemistry accident, wasn't it? Kimberly could sense the doubt and panic creeping into Sally's voice. What if I was this Juby Chan, the ninja girl, and not just Lieutenant Jackson, United States Marine? Then I would ask you to please train me to be a ninja like you, Sally said hopefully. Well, I'll have to talk to your parents, Kimberly said, and Sally looked crestfallen as if she already knew her parents' answer. But until then, you should do what the other teens are doing. Join us for the morning run, and then PT, and then one of the training classes. The other teens? The ones at the Kaibab Camper Village, Jacob Lake Inn, and surrounding farms. I teach classes at the maintenance building at the Kaibab Camper Village. But for now, why don't you do some PT? Kimberly stated more than asked. Yes, Master, she said and bowed and hurried over to where the Marines were doing PT and joined in. Nora eased up to Kimberly. This kind of sucks. What exactly? Because there's a whole lot of suck going around. There are more of us teenagers stepping up than there are adults, retired military or otherwise. I would have thought that all of the adults would have stepped up to keep us from doing it, Nora sighed. Ugh. All right, hang on a second here. I gotta read some stuff silently and clarify what I want to do with it. Hmm. Okay, I thought I spotted something out of whack, but I don't see it again. Maybe I'll pop back up when I start reading it. Uh, more will. Some just have to overcome the trauma that they had experienced already. That's why most of them retired from the military. I want to take that out. That was part of it right there. Retired from the military. Kimberly sighed too, and their spouses saw the effect it had on them, and they're leery to get back into this world. Others need to get their heads in the game first so they don't make mistakes. It sucks to be us, Nora grumbled. I don't think it's that bad for us, Kimberly mused. We have a nice place to live. It's easily defendable, a tight, friendly community, people our own age. We have food and water, she chuckled. A boatload of food. But we are still at 2 girls for every guy, Nora frowned behind the mask. I don't want to share my man with anyone. I agree with you on that, Kimberly. I agree with you on that, Kimberly agreed. Um, uh, of her head. We found guys that are loyal to us, but others may wind up with a horn dog who wants or demands sex a couple times a day. They might want to share that loving around with another wife or two. Hang on, this is what I need to change. There we go. Oh God, save Corey from becoming a super Randy wanker, Nora said in a heavy British scouse or I take this out, or Liverpudlian accent. Kimberly doubled over and blew snot out of her nose. She grabbed the ninja outfit and ran towards the restroom. Nora walked over to Lieutenant Colonel Houston and the officers talking with the Cooper group. Colonel, Major, she nodded to Nola and Douglas. What did you say to Lieutenant Jackson? Nola asked. All right, we got 5 people in here again. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up and say hi in the comments. We were discussing the 21 and under unmarried, 21 and under unmarried, and how the ratio is a little more than 2-to-1 girls to boys. And that I will most likely wind up staying in the colonies, states. And if I find one to marry, I hope he's not a super randy wanker who wants sex 2 or 3 times a day. The others all snickered. I can see where she would find that funny, Nola said. I'll have to apologize for making her snot herself. More chuckles. I would recommend that, especially if you're going to continue training with her in hand to hand. Nola smiled. My thoughts exactly, given what Colonel Houston asked me to convey. What's that? On Lieutenant Moore's recommendations, as long as he and Lieutenant Jackson are doing PT, all NCOs will do PT as well. We'll do. Hang on, I need to put a comma in here. That's what was throwing me off. All NCOs will do PT as well, and it's strongly recommended that all officers that are able to, should do PT as well as an example to the troops. Officers can do their PT with Lieutenant Moore and their spouses at the maintenance building, and NCOs, troops, and youth will do their PT here with Lieutenant Jackson. Nora was struggling to keep from laughing. Nola let out a slight groan. Kimberly walked up and stopped behind and slightly stopped beside and slightly behind Nora, just out of her view. Hang on. Come here.
Can you take these?
No, or not right now. I'm busy doing this, Kay. It's going to take me a few minutes. Give me about another half hour when I need to grab something, and then I will do it for you, okay? Oh, okay. We had the little freeze up there on everything. Yeah, I got my youngest grandson over here right now. He's watching TV, but he likes taking the toilet paper rolls, and he likes me to tape them together so he can pretend they're binoculars. There we go. And it is strongly recommended that all officers that are able to should do PT as an example to the troops. Officers can do, okay, I'll read this down to, Nora was struggling to keep from laughing. Nola let out a slight groan. Kimberly walked up and stood slightly behind, stopped beside and slightly behind Nora, just out of her view. He also said that, hang on, I got to change it. It's spelled wrong. Their PT would be based on age and medical condition and his survivability. He doesn't want, and these are his words, us older folks to hurt themselves trying to do shit we shouldn't try to be doing. Thank God, Nola said, exhaling a sigh of relief. But we'll have to discuss this a bit more. There is a sporting goods store in Kanab that has exercise equipment, including low-impact units that Benjamin, Mr. Clark, said we need to get, such as, Douglas asked, all of the weightlifting sets, exercise bikes, eclipsable trainers, incline steppers, rowing machines, and treadmills, Nora answered him. I'm not sure what a couple of those are, but we might just have different names. That might just have a different name for them. Eleanor, you have to catch up on some of your Americanisms, Nola said. No doubt, Nora sighed heavily. Kimberly spoke loudly behind Nora. Tomorrow, Nora yelled. Tomorrow you'll wear your combat utility uniform and you will run with us, Kimberly finished. If I'm out of the critical care unit, she replied with her hands pressed to her chest, you bloody well gave me a heart attack. You head-banging tosser. At least I didn't make you blow snot all over. That was your fault. And you should be aware of your surroundings. Touche. I thought you were going to become Juby Chen, Nola said. Maybe tomorrow morning would be better, Kimberly replied. Then she walked over to the then she walked over to a chain hoist and looked it up and down. Then she reached out and wrapped her and wiped a finger on it and looked at her finger. Figure, she muttered as she looked around and started off in the direction of a sink of a wash sink. She washed the oil off her finger and dried her hands. Then she continued to walk around the maintenance bay, looking in crates and metal toolboxes. She opened a door to a supply room and went inside. A couple minutes later, she came back out carrying a bundle of work gloves. First Sergeant Young, she called out. Yes, Lieutenant, he responded and hurried over to her. Handing First Sergeant Young the gloves, she said, there's a crate on a pallet jack in there filled with half-inch transport chains. There's also a pressure washer and 6 gallons of soap for the pressure washer, several spools of tire wires, and some brooms and mops. Have a squad bring them out to the concrete apron out back and clean all oil and grime off the chains and lay them out to dry. Have another squad get some ladders and the brooms and dust off the girders so they can hang the chains up for climbing. Then see if you can find materials to make pull-up bars and secure them to the wall somewhere. Improvise some punching bags and make them heavy duty. Then figure out some other training equipment for them. I can do that, he said with a smile. Carry on, First Sergeant. Aye, Lieutenant. And we're back down to 4. You heard the sounds of a truck pulling around. Sound of trucks pulling out to head to the Cooper's old redoubt to get the 2 remaining cargo containers and whatever else they could find to salvage. All right, Fredonia City meeting. All right. Okay. I'm going to keep on going here a little bit. I was going to take a quick break here, but I want to get some stuff done here before I got about 15 minutes before I want to take the halfway break, and I get those binoculars made for Oliver's. Get them taped together real quick. All right, so Fredonia City meeting at noon. I know what. Make that a little bit bigger so I can see. Yeah, I can see a little bit better now. At noon, they were to address the city council and citizens of Fredonia in the high school gym. They arrived at 11:30 as Marshal Pratt was directing the setting up of the tables and chairs. Oh, man. Over the snow coming down out there right now. Okay, yesterday it was 54 degrees and the snow just coming down, so the house is trying to cool off a lot more, and I got the furnace blowing. Let me take a look out the window right here. Oh yeah, snow is really starting to build up on the walkway. So yeah, it is. We've probably got looks like about 2 inches of snow out there this morning. So yeah, it's blowing the hot air and the vents right under the table here, so it blows up on me. keeps my legs nice and warm, but it blows dry air up into my eyes, and they start to tear up and dry out at the same time, so I get goop up there. All right. Directing the setup of the tables and chairs for them to sit at. The rollout bleachers on one side of the gym were pulled out, and several rows of folding chairs were set up in front of the bleachers. There was room for 3 or 4 more rows to be set up and still leave 20-foot gap before the tables and chairs reserved for the camp resurrection group. About 15 feet behind the chairs was a huge movie screen, and the school's audiovisual department, a teacher and 5 students, were running cables to the tables and covering them with blue painter's tape. Kimberly and Michael set their laptops on the left table, and First Sergeant Carlos Young set his on the right table. Lieutenant Colonel Nola Houston started placing printed name cards on the tables. Going left to right from the perspective of those at the table was at the left table, the name cards were an open spot. Commander Eleanor Smythe, MI6, Lieutenant Jackson, USMC, Lieutenant Moore, USMC. The center table was Major D. Cooper, USMC, Colonel A. Houston, USMC, Lieutenant Colonel Houston, Colonel N. Houston, USMC, Major M. Cooper, USMC. At the right table were Captain L. Robinson, USMC, Lieutenant Z. Polson, USMC, First Sergeant C. Young, USMC, Charles Finley, USFMS. That's U.S. Federal Marshal Service. The open slot at the left table had Michael's and Kimberly bow cases sitting on the table. One of the audio visual students asked Carlos if his laptop needed to be hooked up to the projector. He responded, said no, it didn't, but Kimberly's and Michael's laptops did. The student quickly got others, and they moved the cables from the middle of the center table to between Kimberly and Michael, and set up a switch so they could change which laptop would show on the movie screen if they wanted to, or if they wanted to, neither one. The audio-visual crew in front of each chair, except for the open spot. The microphones had push-to-talk buttons and an always-on switch. Michael asked if they had a couple wireless handheld microphones and a couple throat mics or lapel mics that he and Kimberly could use as well for when they got up from the table, as well as a couple handheld mics for questions from the audience. The two of them ran off to get some. After the mic checks, they circled up off to the side to go over all the points they wanted to cover, who was going to address what, and when they were going to let Michael and Kimberly do their demonstration to appease their fans. While they were laying out their plans, people began to enter the gym. Then a set of double doors on the other side of the gym opened up, and some mega bales of alfalfa were brought in. These were 3.5 foot by 3.5 by 7 foot long. They were stacked too high and were on pallets and moved by pallet jacks. 2 stacks were brought in and placed side by side under the basketball hoop backboards on that end of the gym. I guess that settles whether or not we're going to be going to get away without shooting some arrows, Michael said. About 2 minutes to noon, Marshal Pratt walked over with another man. Everyone, this is our mayor, Steve Judd. Chief Hanson Peel stepped a bit closer so he could hear better and know what to do when they address the people in Kanab after people of Kanab later after dinner. I would like to say thank you for taking your time away from your duties to talk to us. He smiled nervously. Hang on. Control C. Steve Judd smiled nervously. I'm not sure how you want to do this, so if you could tell me what to do. Albert spoke up. Even though I'm the ranking officer here, I don't have any experience with this sort of thing. However, Lieutenants Moore and Jackson do. What do you two suggest? Michael nudged Kimberly ever so slightly. Kimberly took a quick breath. Well, you should welcome everybody here, for everyone being here, and thank them for attending. Then you should thank Marshal Pratt for getting our special guest to speak to us today, and then turn it over to him. That's it. That's all you have to do, Mayor. Marshal, you will state that you've been working closely with the military unit stationed at Jacob Lake, Chief Peel of Kanab, and the CERT ham radio operators in Page, as well as other ham radio operators in and out of the area. You can then mention that you and Chief Peel were asked to attend a conference call with General Donaldson of the Marine 4th FORCON, DHS Regional Special Agent in Charge Davies, Secretary of Homeland Security Daniels, Vice President Mitchell, and President Lepetamain. And the government is taking steps to secure the area and then introduce Colonel Houston, who will address some of the steps being taken and what the citizens of Fredonia and the surrounding area can do to help. And then we'll take it from there. Michael then spoke up. We take it that since the bales of alfalfa were brought in and targets placed on them, you are expecting a demonstration of some sort is that for a school activity? The youth have been bugging us to have you bring Juby Chan, the ninja girl, and Archer, the super scout, with you to do a demonstration and talk specifically to them. Some want to know if they can join their heroes group and what they need to do to do so, and what they should be doing here in town. Mayor Judd sighed, but I guess they won't make it. We'll address that as we go along. Oh, okay, Mayor Judd said in surprise. I guess I'll go start the meeting. He turned and walked away towards the audience. Let's go get seated, Colonel Houston said. All right. As they made their way to the chairs, Kimberly and Michael noticed that quite a few of the teenagers and preteens were looking upset or sad. They reasoned it was because they didn't recognize them in their military alter egos. Once they were seated, the mayor opened the meeting and turned the mic over to Marshal Pratt, who gave a brief account how they'd been coordinating and passing information on to the Marines Corps and the Army Rangers. Then he said that he gestured to Hanson, Chief Peel, were invited to a video conference call with DHS Regional Special Agent in Charge Davies, Secretary of Homeland Security Daniels, General Donaldson of the Marine 4th FORCON, and Vice President Mitchell. Then he added that President Lepetamain joined the called to re-swear in 2 Marines because their recruiter had made some errors, and they wanted to rectify those immediately once they were known. He then introduced Colonel Albert Houston and Lieutenant Colonel Noah Houston. Albert said that he and his wife had retired a year ago but stayed active as reservists, and that General Donaldson had recalled them to active duty yesterday, and that the Vice President charged them with the task of rebuilding the Marine 3rd Forcon. What do you want?
This thing's not there.
Okay. Also that the Kaibab National Forest and the North Rim area of the Grand Canyon National Park have been set aside as a new Marine base called Camp Resurrection for the purpose of securing the area and rebuilding the 3rd Forcon. He then introduced both Major Coopers, and those seated at his table to the right. He skipped Michael and Kimberly at the request, and Commander Smythe, Nora, as she had not yet returned from the restroom yet. Okay, I am getting a bunch of pop-ups here. I got to things here popping up here. I need to get rid of. Okay, there we go. Just then the door opened with a bang as hang on a second. I never remember. Okay, I skipped the whole paragraph. Sorry, go back here. Then he added that if anyone with prior military experience was willing to re-enlist, they would be gratefully accepted, and that for the most part, their service would be local in training new recruits and defending the local area from criminals and gangs. Next, he stated that they would be training local residents to be part of a city militia under the command of Marshal Pratt for Arizona around Fredonia and Chief Peel for Southern Utah. Hang on here. Then he said the militias would work hand in hand with the Marine Corps in securing the area. The Jacob Lake militia was under the command of Bob Miller, and they'd be working with Federal Marshal Charles Finley and a to-be named sergeant to provide base security. Just then the door opened with a bang, and Commander Smythe, Nora, entered as she was talking on a sat phone. Yes, Mr. Vice President, I understand completely. If you can get a hold of Prince Edward and his father so I can discuss your offer, I'd appreciate it immensely. And again, on behalf of everyone here, thank you for sending the combat surgical team. We look forward to their arrival with the supply drop. She paused, talking as she listened to those on the other end of the call. Why, thank you, General. I will convey Master Gunnery Sergeant's regrets to Lieutenant Jackson. Yes, I or Colonel Houston will contact you with an update this evening. Good day to you, sir. Then call and continued walking to the tables. When she got to her spot, she set her black leather satchel on the table and spoke. Colonel Houston, President Lepedemain had the Joint Chiefs put out word that we needed some volunteer combat surgeons, and in response, a team of PJs will be jumping in with a supply drop later this week. General Houston regrets to inform you, General Donaldson regrets to inform you that he denied Master Gunnery Sergeant's request to join the drop and get a first-hand assessment of our situation. I believe she really wanted to spar with the lieutenant again to assess her current combat skill level. Also, he stated that we will receive double what we requested for a tactical loadout with the drop. Thank you, Commander Spice. Did they say what was the makeup of the what was the makeup of the did they say what the makeup of the PJs was? What the makeup of the PJs was? Yes, sir. 2 combat surgeons, 4 operating room certified technicians. Also, they're bringing over a ton of medical supplies with them. Excellent, Albert said as everybody at the tables nodded at the happy news. As Nora was sitting down, Major Judd quickly asked, "Why is the commander wearing a mask, and what Navy is she part of? That is not a U.S. Navy uniform." And she was saying lieutenant instead of lieutenant. Colonel Houston looked over at Nora and said, "Commander Smythe." Nora leaned forward to the microphone and Kimberly quickly spoke up. "If I may, Your Grace." She winked at Nora when she turned her head to Kimberly. "As you wish," Nora said, not sure what Kimberly's play was going to be. Kimberly stood up, and as she did so, she tapped Michael's leg, getting him to stand. That in turn got everyone at the table standing too. "Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am honored to present Her Grace, Eleanor Mary Elizabeth Smythe, daughter of Duke Anthony Robert Smythe and Lady Jessica Marguerite Windsor Smythe, who's the 4th cousin of King Arthur Philip George and his wife Elizabeth Coburg of Kent. Her Grace is the favorite cousin of their son, Edward, Prince of Wales." Kimberly bowed to Nora. Michael was bowing almost at the same time as Kimberly and was followed by everyone else at the table. Kimberly glanced at the audience and noticed that only Marshal Pratt was standing and bowing. She jerked her hand up sharply and snapped her fingers twice loudly and pointed up and whipped her hand in a small circle, indicating that everyone should stand. Marshall saw the gesture and coughed loudly, motioning for everyone to stand with his hand. Kimberly actually heard an "oh shit" followed by several people standing. Once everyone was standing, either bowing or curtsying, Nora spoke and gestured out and down with an upturned hand. "Please be seated. I'm just here as an officer of the Royal Navy and MI6, not as a representative. Not as a representative of the royal family." When everyone was seated, Kimberly remained standing and continued. "Her Grace joined the Royal Navy on her 16th birthday at the Admiralty and was commissioned as a sub lieutenant. She continued in her duties over the next 5 years and received 3 promotions, the last to commander, which she believes Prince Edward had a hand in, but he denies that. Her last station was aboard the aircraft carrier Prince Richard before she was transferred to MI6. 6 months ago, she was assigned to a classified operation with the CIA. "Lieutenant," Eleanor spoke. "The Vice President just told me that the 3 operations have been declassified and they are now military operations assigned to the military operations to assist law enforcement dealing with criminal gangs, and I was assigned to Operation Shared Strength. As your Vice President." "Good to know," Kimberly replied, and then sat looking back at the mayor as she continued. "It was part of that operation that Lieutenant Moore and I were recruited by the CIA and inserted into the Marines' 3rd Fork on us and assigned back to the CIA operation. I was assigned Commander Smythe as my partner, and Michael Moore was assigned MI6 operative Anthony Middleton before he was killed. Anyways, Commander Smythe is an expert in interrogations and has ascertained vital information about Heaven's Devils that even the CIA team working with DHS Regional Special Agent in Charge Chris Davies and the Vice President could not find out. Leaning forward over the table and staring hard at the mayor, at Mayor Judd. Mr. Mayor, with this information about her and what she does, don't you think it'd be wise to hide what she looks like in case she needs to disappear if the bad guys get close to capturing her? Why, yes, of course. My apologies, Your Grace. Nora did a slight wave of her hand, dismissing the mayor, but appearing not totally forgiving him. As he sat down, Kimberly sat down as well. All right, I'm going to take a quick look at the time. I'm going to take a quick break here and grab something I need to get, and then I will be right back in a couple of minutes. All right, so don't go away. And let me scroll that up just a little bit there if you want to read a little bit, and I'll be right back. All right, there we go. Yeah, I had to go get some little pieces of cheese as protein. I can always tell when I'm starting to get a little lightheaded from the lack of protein. I haven't had breakfast yet today, so. Colonel Houston then spoke. Commander, any other updates? Any other updates from Idaho? Yes, after the PJs have had an opportunity to check out the hospital, they will give you a list of what other supplies and equipment they believe the hospital needs, and that'll be delivered with a second supply drop. As you get Camp Resurrection set up, they will try to get what you need to properly train new recruits. and set up a medical facility at the camp. Okay. And set up a medical facility at the camp. Thank you, Commander, Albert said, then turned to address the audience. As you see, the government is moving supplies into the area, and we will continue to work with your local law enforcement to help you as much as we can. We would appreciate all the help you can give us so we can help protect you from the gangs and other criminals. Nola spoke next. For those of you who are former military and are willing to help either by enlisting in the Marine Corps for a 4-year enlistment or in the reserves to help staff Camp Resurrection and train new recruits, you will start at First Sergeant Young's station. For those who wish to receive training for local militia, should sign up at Captain Robinson's station. If you decide later that you want to join the militia, you can see Marshal Pratt, and he will forward your name so we can schedule you for training. Training for the returning military will be 1 week for Marines and 2 weeks for other branches to learn Marine nomenclature. For new recruits, it will be the standard 13 weeks. Then she leaned forward and looked at Kimberly. Kimberly activated the lapel mic that the AV students gave her and stood up, walking around the front of the tables. Stopping at her bow case, we've heard that there are a lot of requests for those under 18 to get specialized training. She picked up her bow and several arrows and walked to the middle of the gym. We are currently teaching the youth and adults at Jacob Lake several classes a day. Then we are teaching the Marines the same classes, but at a more expert and intense level. She then rapid fired 2 arrows, one at each target, hitting them dead center, bullseye. Applause broke out from the audience. Michael stepped up. He knocked 2 arrows at once. He drew back and held the bow for about 10 seconds and then let loose. He split one arrow Robin Hood style and shattered the other. The audience was in shock and silence for about 2 seconds, then erupted in thunderous applause. Kimberly held her hand up to quiet the audience. Lieutenant Moore is instructor for archery, obviously because he's better than me. She handed her bow to Michael. And Lieutenant Jackson is lead instructor for hand-to-hand combat, being a 3rd level instructor in Jeet Kune Do. First, second, or 3rd degree Dan black belt in either karate, arnis, shoot wrestling, Magrava, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Erskine, Muay Thai, and Shillelagh, Commander Smythe said. But what else would you expect from the real live Juby Chan, the ninja girl? A couple dozen or so of the teen and preteen girls screeched excitedly, hearing that she was who they suspected she was. Kimberly quickly held up her hand to quiet them. Once they were quiet, she bent down and removed her boots. Captain Robinson, would you spar with me? No, came the reply. Now that I outrank you, I'm not sparring with you ever again. Master Sergeant Grimm, Larry called out. Master Sergeant Peyton Grimm and Staff Sergeant Lynette Cole came into the gym with a wooden man on a furniture moving dolly. Can we get a wrestling mat brought out here? I don't want to scratch the gym floor, Kimberly asked. Several students ran to get a wrestling mat pulled out for her. One of the things that Lieutenant Moore and I want you to understand is, and this is important to us, and it is important, and this is important. We do not like our celebrity status. It has interrupted our lives. She took a breath and blew it out in a huff. However, it has allowed us to save lives of many others. There are plenty of videos that have been downloaded of our demonstrations floating around town. We will not be repeating that here. Also, we will be keeping our demonstration short, and Lieutenant Moore's part is done. A few grins of disappointment came from the teens. When the wrestling mat was laid out and the wooden men placed on it, Kimberly spoke. I will be using the wooden man to teach the Marines and others martial arts. And as far as I know, there are no videos of me working out on a wooden man. So this will be a first for all of you. Stepping up to the wooden man. This is the Mu Ren Man Song, or wooden man post. Her right hand came up and made light contact with the wooden man's left arm. Then it dropped as her left hand came up slowly and made a snapping contact with the wooden man's right arm. This is a training tool used in various styles of Chinese martial arts, most notably that of Wing Chun and other Kung Fu styles of southern China. She repeated the moves and added a inside sweep block with the right foot. You start slow. Hang on, I'll put that on there to emphasize that. You start slow to build muscle memory, like writing your name or tying your shoe. She repeated the last sequence and added moving her left hand down from the wooden man's right arm and slapping the center arm down. As you develop correct movements slowly, you build correct muscle memory. She repeated the last sequence and added stepping back on her right foot and bringing the right hand up, and brought her right hand, hang on here, added stepping back down with the right foot and brought her right hand up, her right hand. Okay, right hand up again, making and Tammy of Rebel Canners has joined us here. She's listening while she just got notified. Oh, I love it. So it's almost 2 hours since I went live, and she's just getting notified. Gotta love BoobTube. Hang on. And again made contact with the wooden man's left arm. As you build your muscle memory, her left hand came up quicker and made contact with the wooden man's right arm as her right hand came down and slapped the center arm. The more you develop muscle memory, and the faster you can move and strike accurately. And then she became a blur of strikes, kicks, and block for the next 10 seconds. Suddenly she froze. The wooden man to her right, and her right fingers barely touching the post. Her right elbow bent slightly. She held this position for 3 seconds. Then her fingers curled into a fist, and she struck the post without pulling back, and drove it. Hang on here. 3 feet away from her before it fell over with a heavy thud on the mat. She drew herself up and turned to the audience, who were mostly staring open mouthed at her. She started walking forward. We will also be offering pistol and rifle training, including automatic rifles. She paused and looked down while her index fingers tapped quickly on her thighs. While she was talking, Master Sergeant Peyton Grimm and Staff Sergeant Lynette Cole picked up the wooden man, put it back on the moving dolly, and rolled it out of the gym. After 15 seconds, she sighed heavily, looking back up. I have received requests from several teams at Jacobs Lake and relayed requests from a couple teams here in Fredonia to receive special training. Due to the current situation with Heaven's Devils and the possibility of other gangs coming here, the impending lack of food and winter die-off, I don't see me being able to train any more than the current Marines and new recruits that we get this winter, and possibly the teams at Jacobs Lake. I'm sorry I won't be able to come here and train you. She looked down, shaking her head slowly. Excuse me, Lieutenant. Kimberly looked up for the source of the voice. Over here. Kimberly saw a girl in an oversized hooded sweatshirt raise her hand. Go ahead and please stand up. The girl stood up. And Kimberly asked, as the girl stood up, Kimberly asked, what is your question? Is the Marine Corps currently accepting under 18 enlistments with parents' signed permission? She asked hopefully. The current requirements are 17 with high school diploma and parents' signed permission. Miss Jordan, Tara Jordan. How are you, Tara? I'm 16 and a half and a senior. A senior? Yes, I skipped the grade. I have all the credits I need to graduate, but they wouldn't let me skip a second time at my last high school. Where was that? L.A. California? Tara laughed. That's right. Front and center, Tara Jordan. Tara jumped up and hurried down. She was already standing up. That's right. She was already standing up. Tara hurried down the stairs of the bleachers carrying a small manila envelope. When she hit the floor, she briskly walked over to Kimberly and held it out to her. What's this? Kimberly asked, taking the envelope. My transcript, birth certificates, and other documentation, Tara stated. You really want to do this? You really want to learn to kill with your hands? To save my little sister and baby brother? Hell yes. Tara looked defiantly at Kimberly with a grim expression. Drop and give me as many push-ups as you can while I talk to Colonel Houston. While I talk to the Colonel's Houston. When Tara dropped and started doing push-ups, counting each one off as she went, Kimberly turned and stopped, called out, Mrs. Jordan. Yes, came a soft voice from where Tara was seated. Does Tara have your permission to join the Marine Corps? Yes. But she really wanted to join the Navy to be a SEAL, she called back. Lieutenant Jackson eats Navy SEALs for breakfast, Abigail yelled from where she sat in the bleachers with her adopted family, because they're magically delicious, and she fell over laughing. All the Marines broke up laughing, and she runs Army Rangers into the dust, Master Sergeant Grimm muttered loudly as he came back into the gym. Tara froze midway in push-up and had her mouth hanging open. Turning and walking. Hang on a minute. Hang on. I got to go back up here. Yeah. Turning and walking over to Colonel Houston, Kimberly said, close your mouth and keep going, Tara. Kimberly then opened the manila envelope and pulled out the contents and read them as she walked. Suddenly, she stopped. Turning slowly, Kimberly looked back at Tara. She hadn't slowed down doing push-ups. Turning back to Nola, she hurried over to her. Handing Nola the papers, she said, "If this is correct, I want her for my SOG team." Nola's head snapped up. "I thought you weren't going to do that until late summer." "I wasn't. I was going to use some of the current active duty Marines, but I have 4 16, 17-year-olds, 5 with her, and at least 24 to 36 months to train them. They'll all be over. If Michael doesn't kill me, I'll throw Abigail into the mix." Holding her hand up quickly, "I know she has her baptism. She has had her baptism fire and hasn't flinched yet. She has watched the PTSD videos more than Michael and I have. She said she doesn't want it to sneak up on her. But like I said, if Michael or Janet," Nola interjected quickly, "or Mama," Kimberly agreed. So are we going to take 16-year-olds with parents' permission? Heck, there were 14-year-olds in the Revolutionary War and 16-year-olds in World War II. And if you're going to take 2 years to train them, why not? Nola said. We'll just we'll just give them longer training unless push comes to shove, Albert said. "With your permission, I'll go recruit," Kimberly said as she saluted. "Have at it, Lieutenant," Albert returned to salute. "Mrs. Jordan," Kimberly called out as she marched towards the mat side to the edge. As she marched towards the edge of the mat closest to the audience. "Yes." "Please join your daughter at the far table at Captain Robinson's station. Tara, congratulations. I'm putting you on my Special Operations Group team." Tara shot to her feet and came to attention, saluting Kimberly. "Thank you, Lieutenant. I'll make you proud." "We will see." Hang on, I need to change this. "We will see," Kimberly said and called out. "I need to speak with the principal right away. I need to speak with the principal." Hang on, make it. Right now. Major Cooper, I need your help." Douglas and Martin hurried around the table to Kimberly. "I need you to go with the principal to make sure he doesn't change any of the students' grades or credits. I'm going to tell him to fill out diplomas for anyone who meets the state's minimum requirements, the state's minimum required points to graduate. I don't want him messing things up in case he is of that mindset. A man walked up. I'm Harold Fuller, the principal." "Mr. Fuller, you need to run the records for every student that has met the state minimum credits to graduate. That includes all 16 and 15-year-olds that have credits. Then you'll fill out diplomas for them and bring them back here. We are going to have a graduation ceremony for them." "And if I refuse?" Fuller asked smugly. "We've already accessed the records and downloaded a copy last week. If there is one name missing, you'll be arrested for tampering with school grades and interfering with the legal enlistment of military personnel. In this current state of emergency, you can and will be shot," Kimberly hissed. "And I will help feed your body into the wood chipper to feed the hogs," Marshal Pratt smiled evilly as he stepped up. The 4 of them hurried off to Fuller's office. Kimberly turned to walk to the edge of the mat. Then coming to a halt, she spoke to the audience. First off, no one, and I repeat, no one will take any action against heaven's devils unless they are attacked, unless they attack the people in Fredonia. You are not trained for it, so just keep doing what you have been doing and let them come to us. Is that clear? No one responded. Is that clear? Kimberly shouted. This time she got some loud yes, Lieutenant, but mostly they were weak mumbles. If you take action before you're trained, you will get yourself and others killed. Do you understand that? She got more yes, lieutenants than before. Good. Now, anyone over the age of 18 that is going to enlist, please go to the First Sergeant Young station. Next, anyone that's 16 or 17 and wants to enlist, bring a parent down here to the mat and line up on this edge. She pointed the front edge, she pointed in front of her and then stepped over to her boots and walked back to the center of the mat and sat down with her legs crossed. After a few minutes, there were 4 girls and 2 boys with parents lined up. Kimberly looked over her shoulder and saw about 15 men and 10 women lined up at the tables. Looking back in front of her, she saw a dozen teens and their parents arguing. Sighing, she stood up and called out, "Parents arguing with their teens. Please come down here and stand over on this side of the mat and just listen. Please come down now." Reluctantly, parents came down to the mat and she lined up on the side of it. All right, hang on a second. I hear some noise out here I want to take care of. I'll just be right back in a Sorry about that, but Oliver was got picked up by his mom and was going back home, and I wanted to clarify some points with her. All righty. Reluctantly, the parents came down to the mat and lined up on the side that Kimberly pointed to. When everybody was lined up, she spoke. I want you all to understand that I wish that none of you would ever have to kill to protect your families. And that means both teens and parents. I wish that Michael and I could protect you all without your help. Kimberly breathed a heavy sigh. But that's not going to happen. There are too many of them. The best I can do is to train those that see the need and want to help. Train them so they will survive the job. I'm putting together a SOG team, that's Special Operations Group, with very special training. Basic Marine boot camp is 13 weeks. Mine will be 16. We will move on to intermediate training for 8 months. That ends the first year. Those that pass will be placed in stage 1 advanced training. Those that don't pass intermediate training will be given the option of retraining or transferring to a regular MOS, that's military occupational specialty. Stage 1 advanced training is 6 months and so much harder than intermediate training. It is medical training plus. Those that pass will be placed in stage 2 advanced training, which is 5.5 months, and harder still. This is survival, evasion, resistance, and escape, aka SEER. Those that pass will be placed in stage 3 advanced training, which is, hang on a minute, I just got to pop up here. Okay. Which is 3 months and has a lot of math, geometry, and trigonometry. That is sniper school and forward observer training. I'm a little confused. One of the fathers that had been arguing with their daughter said, "Your special unit gets 3 extra weeks of basic training, 8 months of some type of intermediate training, 6 months of medical training, 5.5 months of survival and escape training, and 3 months of sniper training. So what is the special unit going to be doing?" Primary objective is deleting the enemy without them knowing we are there, until it's too late for them to do anything about it. We are already leaving. Hopefully most of the time will be from 1.5 miles or more away, Kimberly said. She noticed some of the wicked smiles on some of the teens. Other times we'll be doing ninja in close quarters rescuing of prisoners. For these types of operations, we will be using 10 millimeter pistols with suppressors, 10 millimeter carbines with suppressors, and even compound bows and crossbows. We will master and use conventional and unconventional warfare to eliminate these threats to our families. Okay, I can see that, comma. Oh, no, went to the wrong spot. I hate it when it jumps over like that. But why 16 and 17-year-olds? One reason is, for the most part, 16 and 17-year-old minds are maturing enough to deal with the realities of this life. And there will be aberrations that are brought in to train as well. Another reason is because the way their bodies are still developing and can adapt to the strength building regimen immediately, and therefore build muscle, stamina, and resilience much faster than an adult without adding as much bulk, and still be able to stay extremely flexible. If I could, I would have every parent start teaching their children PT at 4. PT, physical training, an exercise program. Start building strength, stamina, resilience, balance, and flexibility now. The stronger youth means stronger and healthier adults. So how old were you when you started your training? The father asked. Several of the girls started at the same time. Her father was Major James Jackson, United States Marine Corps, 4th Forcon. He started training her when she was 4 years old. When she was 7, she started learning Jeet Kune Do, which is the martial art Bruce Lee developed. Her master is Diana Lee Inosanto, Bruce Lee's goddaughter. She is a 3rd level instructor in it. She has studied under several other martial artists as well. 2 of the girls high-fived each other. The father turned to his daughter and asked, "Madeline, did you know about that? Did you know that?" She took a breath and rolled her head like she was going to give a flippant answer, but stopped when she saw Kimberly staring at her with narrowed eyes. She lowered her head. "Yes, I knew that. It's in a bunch of the videos we watch." Kimberly spoke up quickly. "How many miles do Michael and I run every morning?" 10, several yelled in unison. "How long do we exercise after the run?" "An hour," they replied. "And you do it again if you're feeling too horny," one of the boys yelled. "Jack!" A mother, M-O-T, a mother snapped. S-N-A. A mother snapped. Hang on, let me make that A first. What? I can't remember the fancy word she used, but it means horny. The word is amorous, Kimberly chuckled. And you're probably right. Horny is probably more accurate. See? Jack said. Well, let's get back on topic, Kimberly said with a serious face. The two plus years of training is to make those that finish well on their way to being better than the current Tier 1 operators. Several of the dads sucked their breaths in and their eyes got wider. This unit will be a single operation. This unit will be a special ops platoon. That's 16 Marines and 2 officers. Kimberly looked at him hard. 60% will not complete the course. If you make it, the person to your left and the person to your right will not. But those that do make it will be a force of nature like unto a F6 tornado. But tornadoes are only rated to F5, a father said, who didn't want his son joining. Exactly, and smiled in a think about it way. If we fail any phase, can we repeat it? One girl asked. I know you said we could for intermediate training, but what about the others, especially if we're really close? Like the mark is 200 push-ups in 10 minutes, and I can do 195, but I'm doing better every week. I just need a couple more weeks to make the benchmark. Will I be able to repeat that phase? If you are improving all the time but falling short of the benchmark time frame, we will start working with you before the time is up. If you are well above the benchmark on most components and it's just one or two, and you are making progress, not stagnant in any other component, the instructors will meet to see what we think the extra time. Are you worried about push-ups? Yes. Yes, she answered. A-N-N answered. Jack, get me 2 chairs, Kimberly instructed. When Michael and I started working out together, he was doing braced handstand push-ups. That is, his feet were against the wall for balance. In 4 weeks of intense training, he's now doing over 35 freestanding and 10 one-handed. By New Year's, he should be doing over 50 in gear. When we started running, we did about 7 miles a day without packs. 11 days later, our packs were 25 pounds. By the day the asteroid arrived, we were doing our packs were 50 pounds, and we were doing 10 to 15 miles. Here you go, Jack said as he set the chairs down. Kimberly moved the chairs so they were facing each other, about 18 inches apart. Then she put one hand on each chair, leaned forward, centering her weight over her hands, lifted her feet up, and pushed up into a handstand. She started doing handstand push-up. One of the things that Michael and I realized early on was we need to work out in our gear because we wouldn't be fighting without it. She shifted her weight and lifted her right hand, and continued doing handstand push-ups with just one hand. Holy crap, hang on. One of the teens let slip. Mikey, his mother snapped. No, he's right. Holy crap, indeed, his father said. Then Kimberly stopped the push-ups and moved her right hand to the other chair, placed her index finger on the seat and lifted her weight and shifted her weight and lifted her left hand. Mother beat me with a spoon, the girl that had concern about push-ups exclaimed. No, beat me with it, her mother said. Kimberly did 10 one-finger push-ups and lowered her feet to the floor and stood straight. Turning to the father, was asking about training. Sir, could you hold out your arms like Frankenstein, like Frankenstein's monster? Okay. He held them out. Kimberly removed her tactical vest and hung it on the man on one of the man's arms. Damn, he said. Then she removed the plate carrier and held it on the other. Mother Fletcher, he exclaimed wide-eyed. Next, she removed her MCCU blouse and laid it over the vest. Then she took off the dragon scale vest and laid it over the plate carrier. I can't hold him, he said quickly. She took the gear from him and dropped it one piece at a time onto the metal folding chairs. Each one of them, other than the blouse, made a thud when it landed on it. That's 45 pounds of gear, plus the combat belt and sidearm that Michael and I wear on every run, and most of our exercise routine. The backpacks we wear on the runs weigh 50 pounds. Those that join up will be doing handstand push-ups by the end of the first year and running 10 to 15 miles every morning. PT for an hour, maybe an hour and a half. And you will do it with this gear and 50-pound pack, Kimberly. Notice Harold Fuller being escorted back into the gym. Daddy, you have to let me enlist, said the one who was worried about push-ups enthusiastically. Said enthusiastically. Piper, it's too dangerous, he said, and her mother nodded in agreement. What's more dangerous, letting me enlist now and getting 2 years of super training, or waiting till I'm 18 and then enlisting and getting only 13 weeks of training and then going off to fight? Which one is safer for me? Piper stared at her with an open mouth. Exactly, Dad. I want the best chance to survive, which means training with her, letting her forge me in with a makeover more than skin deep. I want to be a devil dog, Piper said enthusiastically. Oh, no, emphatic said, no. Piper stated, dang, this is getting intense. Yes, it is. 3 other girls and four boys did the same thing. One boy who'd been arguing with his father before leaned forward and looked at his dad. Nelson, we'll talk about it at home, okay? The father said. Nelson threw his arm around his father and hugged him. Thank you, Dad. Hang on. Thinking about it. The girl standing next to Nelson slyly waved Kimberly over, and Kimberly stepped over. Yes. Is there any way we can meet privately to get more information so you can answer questions and address my parents' concerns? Sure, we'll just have to work out a time that's suitable for both of us. Can we get a tour of Camp Resurrection? The father asked. I think that can be arranged, Kimberly nodded. What time would be best for you? What time do you start your day? I would like Sue to see it all tomorrow, if that is possible. Kimberly smiled broadly. 05:30. 5 of us start the run at Michael's house. And 6 minutes later, we pick up the Kaibab Camper Village group, then swing by and pick up the Marines, and then the Cooper group, and finally the Jacob Lake group. At that point, it's usually 05:30. We do a full circuit. A loud slap interrupted them. Cindy, several of the team shouted as one of the teen girls hit the mat. Clyde, a woman, shouted as she ran over to Cindy. She was followed by a girl that looked to be about 11 or 12. I just wanted to hear what she had to say, Cindy protested, and I already said no. And just because I go to the restroom doesn't mean that you can sneak down here. Your place is in the home. learning to make your future husband happy in the bed and in the kitchen, not disregarding what the men in the family say. Like you made me happy in my bed last night, Daddy. The little girl said matter-of-factly in a snooty tone. Gasps came from those who heard and understood what she said. Keep your lying mouth shut. You gonna beat me for telling the truth? You raped me last night, the little girl yelled. What? The mother cried out. Yes, Mom, he's done it a bunch of times, and I have videos of it. No, Clyde, how could you? Your own daughter, the mother yelled at him. That's why you haven't been doing me as much, you sick bastard. She's only 11, Cindy hissed at him. You raped her. He raped you too? Why didn't you tell me? He said you knew. The mother looked at both of her daughters. I had no idea. She then leaped to her feet and charged Clyde. You get out of my house and never come back or I'll kill you. Shut up, Clyde snarled. It's my house, and you will do as I say. He slapped her to the mat. No, it's not. She brought a hand up to her bleeding lips. It's my house. It's in my name. My parents gave it to me, not you. Cindy pushed her to her feet and charged Clyde. Don't you ever touch my mother again, you lying sack of shit. Clyde slapped Cindy hard and sent her staggering into the chairs with Kimberly's gear on them, but she remained on her feet. I'm not going to bow down to you ever again, she snarled as she pulled herself up straight. Kimberly had moving sideways off of the mat to the hardwood floor of the gym. Hey, needle dick bitch, Kimberly snapped at Clyde as she continued to step further behind Clyde and away from his family. Oh, you are so tough slapping around your daughters and wife, Kimberly taunted. Maybe they are so used to thinking that they are not supposed to resist you because you're the man. But you're not a man. You're nothing but a little sissy bitch. So why don't you try slapping me, bitch? Huh? Or they need to give you a free slap. Michael's eyebrows raised at Kimberly's cussing. Clyde growled and frustrated and charged after Kimberly, who stood her ground, not taking any martial arts stance, but just standing, with her chin tipped slightly up. Just before Clyde's open hand made contact with Kimberly's swinging arc, brought her left hand up, blocking his arm from hitting her head. At the same time, brought her right knee up sharp into his groin. Sorry. Her right leg immediately shot back to the floor, and she pushed hard with it, pivoting with her body in a counterclockwise punch as she drove her right hand with the palm up into the bottom of Clyde's jaw, slamming it shut so violently it shattered most of his teeth and drove him backwards. Oops, you forgot to say you wanted the free slap, Kimberly said. Clyde's momentum from Kimberly's blow carried him over backwards, but his feet were not working. His eyes rolled back in his head, and he lost consciousness as he continued to fall like a tree to the floor. He had barely hit the floor when first Cindy and then seconds later her sister were on top of him, thrusting knives down into his chest repeatedly. Kimberly had seen Cindy pull Kimberly's knife from its sheath when Clyde knocked her into the chairs with Kimberly's gear on them. But where did Cindy's sister get a knife? Kimberly wondered as she looked around. Then she saw Peyton standing next to their mother. His knife was missing from its sheath. For 5 minutes, the girls repeatedly stabbed their abusive father over and over until they were too exhausted to lift the knives again. Tears ran down their faces, washing the splattered blood of Clyde from them. Kimberly stepped up to them. Recruits, attention, she barked. The sisters blinked with half-vacant expressions as they started to regain their rational thinking. I said recruits, attention, she barked louder. The girls' heads snapped up and they quickly got to their feet. You do not leave your knives in an enemy's body after dispatching it, Kimberly growled. Retrieve them and wipe them clean on his pants. Then she added, what's your mother's name? Joyce Bowman, Cindy said quickly. Kimberly nodded and called out, sure shot. Yes, Lieutenant, Kimberly called back as she stood up. Do you have your laptop with you? Yes, Lieutenant. Bring it here. Aye, aye, Lieutenant. Kimberly quickly dug a large laptop bag out of her satchel and headed to Kimberly. Mrs. Bowman, Kimberly said. Joyce moved closer. Yes, Lieutenant. If I asked for your permission for your daughters to come to Camp Resurrection, what would you say? Can I come too? Staff Sergeant Cole, yes, Lieutenant, she responded, as she quickly marched over to Kimberly and got there the same time as Abigail. Do you know of any Marines that were in the Young Marines before enlisting? Lieutenant Paulson, Lance Corporal Young, and myself. There could be more, but I haven't heard anybody else talking about it. Outstanding. When we get back, ask around. Aye, Lieutenant. Staff Sergeant Lynette Cole responded with a big smile. For now, Staff Sergeant, take recruits Bowman, and Bowman to a restroom to get cleaned up. Sure shot. Go with them and start the PDS training with them gently. Okay? Aye, Lieutenant. Staff Sergeant Cole barked and Abigail echoed her. Marshal Pratt, can we get this degenerate rapist removed? Marshal Pratt waved his deputy over and whispered to him. Federal Marshal Finley walked up to Federal Marshal Pratt and his deputy. Michael and the Houstons and Coopers were fast approaching from the tables. Master Sergeant Graham came too. Peyton spoke up first and surprised everybody. I screwed up letting little Jen take my K-bar, didn't I? I would have, Michael said, then looked at the Houstons. Was it right or wrong? Albert spoke softly. Normally I would have said wrong, but this one instance, I think it was the right thing to do. Then he added, don't do it again. Aye, sir. Mayor Judge eased up to the group. I'm sorry. None of us had any idea. He sighed, what do we need to do? I don't want this to tear down our working relationship. Your city marshal is going to need copies of the videos that the girl made. He and the city attorney should be the only ones to view them, Mayor. Not even you should look at them. If the videos show what I believe they will, the marshal and the city attorney will confirm it. You should make an announcement with them that the videos confirm the allegations made against Mr. Bowman, and absolutely no charges of any kind will ever be made against. And that is all you say. No details at all, Albert said firmly. Just that the allegations have been confirmed. And if anybody demands to know the details, just call them out as a sick bastard, Nola said with a clenched jaw. Mayor Judd nodded in agreement. Marshal Pratt walked up and spoke. I'm sorry I froze. I should have moved in as soon as Jean said he raped her last night. I was in shock. I didn't believe it. I've never seen Clyde like this. I just didn't think anyone here could do anything like that. He gave a shiver. Federal Marshal Finley and Robbie Jensen are going to talk to girls about getting the videos and any other evidence they might have. Robbie Jensen, Albert asked. The city attorney. Good, Albert said, and finally turned to Kimberly. What are you thinking about recruiting the family? We all can help them work through this and give them the purpose and emotional support. Their old life is gone, over. They need something new to grab onto to anchor them, to give them focus moving forward, Kimberly said. With Abigail there, and there is someone who's the age of the girls for them to open up to, that they should cope fairly well. If it's Mrs. Bowman I'm more worried about. She's going to have a boatload of guilt on her shoulders. Right or wrong, it's going to be there. She's going to blame herself for not seeing what was happening. You're not worried about the girls? Nola asked. Of course I am. It's just that I saw a fire ignite in their eyes and a resolve not to be victims anymore. I want to keep that fire burning and build their self-esteem. Then I think that they will be fine, Kimberly said hopefully. 3 boys and a girl eased over to the group. One of the girls, who looked to be the oldest, spoke. Colonel Houston, Lieutenant Jackson, we will help any way we can to help the Bowmans deal with this. Are your parents okay with your enlisting? Nola asked. The 4 looked back to their parents, who nodded, then turned back to Nola and nodded as well. Good. Get your parents, go over to Lieutenant Paulson. As they turned to get their parents, the boys stopped and turned back, and the girls stopped too. What is the best thing we can do to help them without making them feel worse? We have some PTSD videos for everyone to watch. SureShot is with them now, and she has them on her laptop. For everyone that knows them, just be a friend. If you weren't friends before, don't apologize for not being one before. Just remember that you are all Marine recruits, and you will work together and look out for each other, Kimberly explained. The boy smiled half-heartedly and nodded, then asked, when are they going to the camp? And when do we go there? We'll have someone with them for the next 2 nights, and to go to Camp Resurrection on Wednesday morning, unless we change that for some reason. Report time is 0800 for everyone, Major Douglas, Cooper said. And that is at the former Jacob Blake Forest Service workstation, West Side. Hang on, I'll get something out of my eye here. I'm glad someone will be with him. Cindy's boyfriend was cheating on her, and they broke up last week. She seems to have taken it pretty hard, and now this, a girl said. What's your name? Madeline Roberts. If they come early, would your parents allow you to come too? They should, but I'll go ask them, make sure it's okay with them. She hurried off. Can I come too early? The boy asked. Name? Donnie Chapman, he replied. Why are your parents looking at you like you're supposed to do or ask something? Kimberly asked. Donnie turned to Colonel Albert Houston. Colonel, sir, have you heard anything about Delta Force? My parents were in G Squadron Troop 3. No, I haven't. We were just recalled and promoted, so we are still catching up on a lot of information. Lieutenant Jackson, why don't you and Lieutenant Moore go talk to them, and if needed, for the last part. Aye, sir, Michael and Kimberly answered as they headed towards TWARDS, towards Donnie's parents. Madeline Roberts. Hang on. Returned to them. They said, yes, I can go early. I just need 20 minutes or so to get some supplies, get some things together. Go sign up for the fog with Lieutenant Paulson. Get the list of what to bring with you. Aye, Lieutenant, Madeline said, unsure if she did it right. Kimberly smiled and nodded slightly. Marshals Pratt, deputy, and several men hoisted Clyde's tarp-wrapped body into a wheelbarrow as the janitor cleaned up Clyde's blood from the floor. Over at the front of the folding chairs, a group of about 40-plus junior high school students and another 30 plus elementary school students were gathering. They were whispering to each other, and some of them pointing at them. Kimberly stopped at the chairs to where her gear was at. Donnie, can you bring your parents over here? All right. Hang on a second. I got to grab something here real quick. There we go. Yeah. I know those of you that are older, you can get ears in your hair in your ears that kind of kinkle around. Yeah. This drives me crazy. Never used to get them as a kid. All right. She asked if she picked up her dragon scale vest. Aye, sir. He said, and he turned to his parents and slowly gestured for them to come to him. They met him halfway, and he took hold of their hands and started pulling them towards where Kimberly was putting her gear back on. Mom, Dad, Lieutenants Moore and Jackson, a.k.a. Archer the Super Scout, and Kimberly and Juby Chan the Ninja Girl. Michael held out his hands to the Chapmans as Kimberly finished buttoning her MCCUU blouse. Nice to meet you, Michael said. Donnie says you were in Delta Force G Squadron Troop 3. The Chapmans hesitated and glared at their son. You didn't say it was a secret, Donnie protested against the glare. You're right, we didn't, but we didn't say to advertise it either, Mr. Chapman said. He turned his gaze back to Michael. Captain Mark Chapman retired. Lieutenant Linda Chapman retired, she said as she extended her hand as she reached for Michael's hand now that Mark had released it. Donnie said you were wondering about any current word on Delta Force? Kimberly asked as she held out her hand. Yes, with Donnie enlisting, we were wondering if Delta Force took hits like some of the bases we've heard about on the ham radio, and if we needed to re-up to help out. Let me make a call, Michael said. And to the Michael said to the Chapman's surprise as he pulled out his sat phone and pushed a couple buttons. Good afternoon, Lieutenant Moore. Walt Rogers' voice could barely be heard by Kimberly standing next to him. Good afternoon, Sheriff Rogers. We have a couple Delta Force retirees who are concerned about their old unit and are hoping to find out if they need to re-up. Hang on a second. There was a slight click when then Walt's voice continued. Hang on. Something's just not right in this. Anything. Okay. Delete. Capital I. Yeah. I put you on speaker. I have General Donaldson and Vice President Mitchell in the office with me right now. You want to repeat that? I have a Captain and Lieutenant Chapman retired from Delta Force, Squadron G, Troop 3, asking for information about them and if they are needed to re-up. Lieutenant, this is Vice President Mitchell. Are they there with you right now? Affirmative, sir. Would you like me to put you on speaker, please? Michael pushed the speaker button. Okay, you're on speaker. Captain Chapman, Lieutenant Chapman, this is Vice President Mitchell. First off, Delta Force is in great shape. That said, if you are willing, I would like to reactivate you and have you help out there at Camp Resurrection with the training of new recruits and upgrading the Marines to the extra skills you have. Would we still be Army, or would we have to switch services? We want to keep you as Delta Force for the time being, Matt said. So, hang on, does it say? Let me put it up here. MATT, Vice President Matt said, so just have Colonel Houston swear you in. You'll report to him until such time as we need to have you rejoin Delta Force once they return from their current duty station. Thank you, Mr. Vice President, Chapman's replied. General Donaldson here. Lieutenant Moore, has Lieutenant Jackson started her special project? Yes, I have, sir. In fact, the Chapman's son is trying out for it, Kimberly answered. That's how we met them. How many do you have so far? 4 from Jacob Lake and 14 from Fredonia so far. I have one more announcement that should. I have one more announcement that should get a few more. The principal has agreed to do a special graduation ceremony for any student with the credits to graduate without having to wait for the end of May. Hang on, I need to put a thing here. See. Come on, she took a loud breath, comma. It would be nice if the president were to enact or get Congress to enact a change to the minimum age requirements for joining the military from 17 with a high school diploma and parents' permission to just 16 with a high school diploma only. To just 16 with a high school diploma only. There would be over a dozen that could enlist without parent permission. This evening, we will be addressing a meeting in Kanab, and I'm hoping to get a couple dozen or more at the meeting, and maybe more in the next couple of days as word spreads. I'm hoping that the Chapmans will also spend some of their time helping out with the project and in honing Lieutenant Moore's and mine skills. Joseph and Matt choked in shock that the Archer and that Archer, the Super Scout, and Juby Chen, the Ninja Girl, felt they needed even more training. Walt laughed. Lieutenant, I hope to one day to work with the two of you. That would be one of the greatest honors of my life, sir, Kimberly said excitedly. Michael spoke up. Thank you for the information on Delta Force, Mr. Vice President, for your time. We'll provide an update on today's events through Colonel Houston this evening. I'll talk with the president about your suggestion, Lieutenant Jackson. And again, thank you all for what you... hang on here. Hang on, I'm just coming up with something here I'm working out in my head as I'm typing to make sure I get it right. Hang on here. I'm getting it done here, and then I'll read it to you guys as soon as I get it typed in here. Of course, you could probably, if you got a big enough screen, you can read it there. If you're following it on a TV, you can definitely read it. Okay. Okay, so put this in context. Walt laughed. Lieutenant, I hope to work with the two. I hope one day to work with the two of you. That would be the greatest honor of my life, sir, Kimberly said excitedly. And Mr. Vice President, I would suggest that you lower the age for owning and carrying firearms like Sheriff Rogers wrote about in his books. Michael spoke up. We thank you for the information on Delta Force, Mr. Vice President, and for your time. We'll provide an update on today's events through Colonel Houston this evening. I will talk with the President about your suggestions, plural, Lieutenant Jackson. And again, thank you both for all you're doing to help stop Heaven's Devils and securing that area of the country. Until this evening, goodbye. Goodbye, sirs. Michael disconnected and put the phone away. You were talking to the Vice President. You sound like you do it often, Mark Chapman said in awe. Our area has the highest count for killing Heaven's Devils and the best interrogation team for making them talk. So yes, we have the ear of the government, Kimberly said. But we can go over that later. Let's get you re-up so you can get your home squared away, Michael added. Actually, we're staying with my sister's family, Linda Chapman said. We were living at Camp Parks. At Camp Parks, the Parks Reserve Forces training area. We've been there 20 months when the relocation order came out. We brought my mom and came here to my sister's place. Hang on here. There's something missing here too. I need to figure out how I'm going to put it in. Let's see. Okay, so I added something in here, makes it work better. It fits better. In our travel trailer, we've been. Okay, so actually, we're staying at my sister's. We are staying with my sister's family. Linda Chapman said. We were living at Camp Parks, the Parks Reserve Forces training area, in our travel trailer. We'd been there 20 months when the relocation order came out. We brought it and my mom and came here to my sister's place. Well, Michael said as they walked towards Lieutenant Polson, you have all your gear? Yes, Mark answered. Just then, Mayor Judd rapped on the microphone, blew into it. Everyone, we have a special ceremony to conduct at the suggestion of Juby Chan, the Ninja Girl. President Fuller has printed out the diplomas for every student that has met the minimum state requirements, state required credits to graduate. We're going to do that right now so they do not have to wait until May to get their diplomas. Mayor, I'll read the names so you and Principal Fuller can present the diplomas and shake their hands, Marshal Pratt said. Marshal Pratt read the names and handed the diploma to Mayor. Hang on, that's a title. So title needs to be capitalized instead of the name there. Okay, and we got 5 people in here. All right. Handed to President to Mayor Judd, who handed it to Principal Fuller to present. 23 names later, they finished. It turned out that 6 juniors and 2 sophomores had enough credits due to the AP classes they took and the extra classes after normal school hours. The graduates began to chant for a speech from Juby Chan. Kimberly made her way to the microphone. Congratulations, graduates. This is a joyous occasion, but one with possible sad undertones. I fear that unless the evil that threatens the people of this country is stopped, and stopped soon, this may be the last graduation held for a number of years. We will continue to secure this land against those that would take your rights and freedoms away. You need to. The sat phone in her breast pocket began to ring. She quickly pulled out, "Excuse me, it's the vice president." A murmur passed through the crowd as she pushed the buttons to answer the call. "Yes, Mr. Vice President." "Thank you, sir. That's great news. We just held the graduation." "Yes, sir. I will, sir. Unless you would like to do it, I can put you on speakerphone and hold the phone up to the microphone." "1 second, sir." You're on speaker, sir." Hang on, I need to change this. 1, 2, 3. You're on speaker, sir. "Citizens of Fredonia and high school graduates, I just got off of a call with the president. Sorry. Oh, my eyes are blurry. Let me get the crap out of my eyes so I can see. Whoa. Okay, hang on a second here. Well, it stopped snowing and the sun has come out and the snow is melting fairly rapidly. So temperatures are rising again. Yay! Okay. For those who didn't see it earlier today, I put out a video, a short, about 1 minute long, of how it was snowing, the wind was blowing. It looked ugly, but yeah. So, all right. I just got off a call with President Lepetamine. Because of the great threat that our country is under, he has issued a presidential decree changing the minimum requirements to enlist in the military from anyone that is 17 years of old and a high school diploma with and parents' permission to just anyone that is 16 years old with a high school diploma. I hope this will make a few of you eager to join under Lieutenant Jackson and Lieutenant Moore, aka under Lieutenants Jackson and Moore, aka Juby Chen, the Ninja Girl, and Archer the Super Scout in their special project. Both the President and I wholeheartedly support their Saga project. Once again, congratulations and good afternoon to all. And Kimberly, the President has also issued another presidential security directive. Quote, "By order of the President of the United States of America, Presidential Security Directive 2, an update to Presidential Security Directive AR001 has been enacted. All those who engage in acts that undermine the stability of the country, any state, county, or community, i.e., such as gives aid to or makes deal with any and all murderers, rapists, looters, kidnappers, robbers, are as guilty as said murderers, rapists, looters, kidnappers, and robbers, and are to be arrested and tried within 12 hours and placed by in-place state, local, state, or federal authorities. If none are available, the area special agent in charge has authority to act as judge. Military officers with the rank of general can convene a military court of 3 to 7 officers to act as a panel of judges." That's great news, sir. Take care and goodbye, Kimberly. Goodbye, sir. As soon as Kimberly hung up, the teenagers went wild with cheers and shouts of excitement. Some of the parents, not so much. While the graduation ceremony was going on, Michael continued to talk with the Chapmans. The next questions are, how soon do you want to report, and how soon can you report? Hang on a second here. I've made a name error here. I got to correct it here as fast as I can. Let me go in here. No, I need to go SOG members, and I need to look for, okay, it says Donnie. Okay, Donnie. I want to make sure I did that all the way here. I wasn't sure if I was saying Danny earlier. Donnie, good, good. Make sure I want to get through the first time and make sure I didn't make a mistake. Donnie Chapman. There's his first name. So yeah, so it's been Donnie the entire time. Good. Scroll back out to where we're at here. Give me a second here. All right, here it is. Yeah. When does Donnie have to report? Linda asked. Donnie would be an exception to the Wednesday morning time. If you two report today or tomorrow, we'll get you into your officer's quarters and get an extra mattress for your room, and he can come with you and then join the others Wednesday. Others Wednesday reporting at Wednesday's morning at report time. However, he will be expected to join in the regular youth training tomorrow and or Wednesday before report time, just like the Bowmans if they come early, and we hope they do, Michael explained. Report time is 0800. Before then, most of us do a morning run starting at 0530. 5 of us start the run at my parents' cabin. 6 minutes later, we pick up the Kayabab camper village and then swing by and pick up the Marines and then the Cooper group and finally the Jacob Lake group. At that time, it's about 0545. Then we do the run, which consists of 2 or 5 or 10 mile circuit of a 2 or 10 5 mile circuit. For some of us, it's a little bit more. It's a good thing we kept our training up while at parks, Mark said. Well, you can join Kimberly and I for our nighttime runs if you feel you need extra endurance building, Michael offered. 10 miles in the morning. How long at night? Just 5. After Kimberly made the announcement with the vice president, she went back over to the mat and put one of the folding chairs back where Jack had gotten it from. While she was doing this, a group of younger teens and preteens. Hang on. She watched a group of younger teens and preteens get excited with her peripheral vision. Some of them started to chatter expectantly. Hang on, let me just something here. Shift F7. Expectantly, yeah, hopefully, eagerly, yes, okay. Expectantly, getting louder as more joined in. She snapped her head up and looked at the group and looked hard at the group and slowly brought her left index finger up to her lips. The group suddenly got stone cold silent. Then she straightened up and looked at the group, slowly raised her left arm out until it was out in front of her, and with the palm up, but her palm facing up, but at a 45-degree angle, she curled her fingers like a cup. Several started to run. She snapped the hand around like a traffic cop signaling stop. All the kids stopped like they were playing red light, green light, red light. Kimberly then flattened her hand and used her index and middle fingers and made like a walking motion very slowly. After a couple of seconds, she pointed to the edge of the mat. As they walked forward slowly this time, hang on, as they walked forward slowly this time, Kimberly noticed that Abigail's adopted family and cousin came, notice that. Sorry, the sentence just doesn't seem right. Kimberly noticed that Abigail's adopted family and cousins came down. I need to cut. There we go. All right. Notice that Abigail's adopted family and cousins came down from the bleachers. Edward Van Horn was carrying Abigail's rifle case, and Sally Smith was carrying her satchel. They got to the mat last and were on Kimberly's right. Only one of the youths had a parent with them, and they dragged and she had dragged her mom to the mat with her. Kimberly walked over to Abigail's adopted family and focused on Maynard, Abigail's brother, who looked like he'd rather be somewhere else. Hey, Maynard, Kimberly said with a smile as she put her hand on his shoulder. I'm glad you came. Abigail talks about you a lot. She's so glad you're her adopted brother. Maynard's head snapped up in surprise. Really? Really? Michael wants to thank you for being a good brother to her. Maynard got embarrassed and blushed a little. Kimberly extended her hand and shook Edward's and Julia's hand and shook hands with Edward and Julia. Then she moved over to the cousins. Roger, she said with a hand extended. Roger mumbled in surprise and shook her hand. Teddy? He shook her hand eagerly and stuttered, Lieutenant? Roy shook her hand and beamed a smile ear to ear. Hey, Sally. Hi, Sally said and hugged Kimberly. Kimberly shook Jonathan's and Sandra's hands and said to Sandra, thank you for bringing Abigail out to us. She's kind of hard to say no to. Yeah, she can turn on the cuteness for sure, Kimberly chuckled, and the boss. Jonathan and Sandra nodded in agreement. Then Kimberly went over to the girl who dragged her mom to the mat. Hi, what's your name? Alicia. Thank you for bringing your mom with you, Alicia. She then held her hand out to Alicia's mom. Thank you for coming with your daughter. Kimberly walked back to the center of the mat. I'm going to ask 3 questions. You can only answer yes to one of them. If you change your answer, you have to do 50 push-ups. If you lie with your answer, you have to do 200 push-ups. Your parents will dime you out. And for those that don't know what that means, it means your parents will tell me that you are lying. Parents that don't dime you out when you lie will have to do 300 push-ups or fight me. Kimberly gave a wicked, evil smile. Because in this, not telling the truth is lying to me. Parents, I want you to come forward and stand behind your children. Sorry. I was leaning forward here. The furnace just came on. It's blowing hot air up past me, and it heated the back of my chair. I leaned back, and it was like, anyways, let's see here. After the parents had come forward, Kimberly spoke. Those I talked to and used their names do not answer. When I you to come forward or beforehand, who asked their parents to come forward with them? Raise your right hand. Keep your hand raised. About 25% raised their hands. Parents, I am disappointed. Kimberly shook her head. Those with their hands raised, please have a seat on the mat and lower your hand. No, just have. I forgot to have their hands up later on. Keep your hand up. Who told or asked their parents not to come forward? Raise your left hand. About 50% raise their hand. Keep your hands raised. Kimberly clasped her hands behind her back and rocked back and forth from heel to toe several times and spoke. Those that did not talk to their parents those that did not talk to their parents to come forward with you or stay back, raise your right hand. Hang on, I need to change the other thing back. Now I know why I had it that way. And lower your hand. Okay. Those that did not talk to their parents to come forward with you or stay back, raise your hand. Everyone else but one raised their hand. That one was touching your fingers, touching the fingers of one hand with the index finger of the other. Her head was cocked to the side in deep thought as she was mouthing something. Kimberly watched for several seconds when the girl smiled and folded her arms in front of her. Kimberly knew the girl thought she'd found the loophole, so Kimberly walked over to her. As she did, the girl's eyes met hers, and she saw a twinkle in the girl's eye. Kimberly stopped in front of her and said, "Explain yourself. Why didn't you raise your hand? Your first question was who asked their parents to come forward with them, correct? I did not, so I did not raise my hand. Then you asked who asked their parents not to come forward, correct. I did not do that, so I did not raise my hand. Then you said those that did not talk to their parents to come forward or stay back, correct. I did not do that either, so I didn't raise my hand. Since you didn't ask them to come forward and you didn't tell them to stay, then you should have raised your hand and not talked to them. But I did talk to them. You did? Yes, I told them it was their choice to stay or follow me. How did you know to say that? My parents taught me to respect others' rights to choose for themselves. Did you tell them what you wanted? No, I didn't want to make them think they had to do it for me. They said that they would come if I needed them to, so I just asked them. They did say that they would come if I needed them to. I just had to ask when I wanted them. All right, Kimberly smiled with us and started to turn away, but quickly turned back. How old are you? 15. Thinking for a couple seconds, then added, sit. Kimberly then turned and walked back out to the center of the mat. Those that have the right hand raised, Give me 10 push-ups. This is for not asking your parents to join you. Let's go. Kimberly chuckled. When they finish, those that have their left hand raised, give me 20. This is for disrespecting your parents and telling them to stay back. Do it now or you don't get to find out or participate in what I have planned. When they were all standing again, Kimberly said, who can tell me about my father? About every hand went up. Just about every hand went up. One first time with his 10 push-ups. Kimberly walked over to her. You, she pointed to the girl who looked to be about 9. He was a major in the Marines and started training you when you're 4. He died 2.5 years ago. Short but correct, sort of. My father also taught me to respect and honor my parents and their wishes. Those of you who did not even ask their parents to join you disrespected them. Those that told them to stay back disrespected them even more. Hence your push-ups. You have both your parents. You have both of your parents. Don't waste time. Don't waste the time you have with them by pushing them away. Kimberly took a deep breath. Who can tell me about Michael's parents? Just about every hand went up. His birth parents, not his adopted parents. All the hands went down. Kimberly was about to speak when she saw Roger Smith, Abigail's cousin, slowly raise his hand out of the corner of his eyes. Yes, Roger. Roger gulped because she didn't look at him as far as she knew. They died in a car wreck when he was very young. His sister was 4 months old. Thank you, Roger. Breathing a slight sigh of relief that Roger didn't say that Michael was 4 years old. Michael lost both of his parents and can't remember hardly anything about them. He did get a second chance with his foster parents who adopted him this year when he was their last foster child they had in their house. Kimberly took another breath. Involve your parents in your life now because you don't know when they'll be gone. Looking over at Michael, she smiled. Who knows all about Michael's scouting history? The oldest girl raised her hand faster than the rest of them. Her eyes were so bug wide that Kimberly had to pick her. The girl started rattling off Michael's Cub Scout, Boy Scout, Varsity Scout, and Venture Scout history. She knew things that Kimberly didn't know. When she finished, Kimberly said, "Wow, you really study him. How did you find all that out?" I discovered a backdoor into the Boy Scout ranking achievement database, the girl stated, and asked, "Are you two still getting married in 21 months?" This is Kimberly knew where this was going. No. The girl started jumping excitedly, as did several others. Even a couple boys perked at that. We moved up the date. Those high and excited spirits crashed. We're getting married this Saturday. More groans of disappointment from those that were hoping that Michael and Kimberly were now available to date others, while others clapped their hands that they were still getting married. Anyways, Kimberly said, as the moaning died down from the 14 and 15-year-olds. I want to talk to you about an organization similar to Scouts. It's co-ed and it's been around since 1959. Parents, she said it a little louder, it does not teach combat or weapons. It's called the Young Marines. Kimberly quickly held up her hand to stop comments and questions. Then she continued, the Young Marines promotes mental, moral, and physical development of its members, focuses on character building and leadership by instilling the ideals of fairness, courage, respect, etc. It stimulates an interest in history and traditions of the United States of America and of the Marine Corps. The creed that every young Marine lives by is obey my parents and all others in charge of me, whether young or old. Keep myself neat at all times without people telling me to. Keep myself clean in mind by attending the church of my faith, keeping my mind alert to learn in school, at home, or at play. Remember that having self-discipline will enable me to control my emergency. Kimberly looked around before continuing. The obligation which they stand by is, from this day forward, I sincerely promise I will set an example for all other youth to follow, and I should never do anything that would bring disgrace or dishonor upon my God, my country, its flag, my parents, myself, or the young Marines. These I will honor and respect in a manner that will reflect credit upon them and myself. Semper Fidelis, which means always faithful. I joined the Young Marines on my 8th birthday and made Sergeant Major at 13. The billet for a Sergeant Major for our unit was 4 months. When my billet was completed, I was asked to join ROTC, that's Reserve Officer Training Corps, but declined because we were moving and I was spending all my free time studying martial arts. Now, not everyone that joins Young Marines enlists, but it is a great place to learn leadership, work ethic, and respect in American history. If we set up a Young Marines unit, it will meet once or twice a week with occasional weekend activities such as survival techniques, physical training, hiking, swimming, rock climbing, rappelling, scuba diving, and land navigation, etc. Parents, if your child or children want to join the Young Marines, the Marines will not teach them weapons training or hand-to-hand combat training. Weekend activities will be approved by the Parents Committee. So if there is an interest, those of us that have been in Young Marines will be back before this weekend or early next weekend to meet with you. Please write down any questions or concerns you can think of, and we'll answer them then. Wait, one of the dads spoke up quickly. Let me get this straight. Those kids, youth that will join the Young Marines will not be getting any training in firearms or hand-to-hand or hand-to-hand? Correct. Kimberly used her to accent keywords. The Marine Corps cannot teach Young Marines those things. Besides, we are too busy teaching new recruits and the town militia those things. Any activities outside of the curriculum are the responsibility of the Parents Committee. Oh, I get it. The parents are responsible for any extracurricular activities when the Marine leaders are not around. So if a bunch of them want to go to the karate dojo in Kanab, that is not part of the Young Marines, the mother said. And if they want to go to target shooting on Saturday, another mother added, the sentence said, they are good to go, Kimberly said innocently. Go ahead and make your list of questions. If there are those of you that want to be on the Parents Committee, volunteer. Can you give us some guidance on the makeup of the committee and how many is a good number to have on the committee? One mother asked. I would say set it up like a scout troop committee, Michael said as he walked over. Um, committee chair, committee vice chair, secretary, advancement chair, activities chair, quartermaster, treasurer, chaplain, other training coordinator, and 4 other committee members. The extra 4 members can assist others if they have a large or difficult project. The committee chair votes only if there's a deadlock. We will try to get a soft copy of the manuals and curriculum before our next visit. If you have gotten the parents committee form before we come, please give a list of who is on it to Marshall Pratt and he will forward it to us, Kimberly said. So write down your questions and concerns, organize a parents committee, check the public library and school libraries for books on history of the Marine Corps and any books on young Marines. Also books on early history of the United States, including constitutional history. Just then, Abigail came walking up to Kimberly. Staff Sergeant Cole requests your other persona in dealing with the Bowmans. Do I need to change first? No, I do not believe so, but you, if you need to, you can in there. Very well, grab my bow case, Kimberly said as she stepped over to the remaining chair and picked up her plate armor. Aye, Lieutenant, Abigail said, answered smartly, turned, saluted again, did an about face, and quick timed it over to where Kimberly's crossbow case was. As Abigail retrieved Kimberly's bow case, Kimberly put on her plate carrier and tactical vest. Mr. Van Horn, can you bring Sure Shot's case and satchel over here? Edward nodded and took the satchel from Maynard and hoisted it on his shoulder, then hoisted the gun case for Abigail on the other shoulder. He got to Kimberly a few steps ahead of Abigail. Abigail handed Kimberly her bow case and then took the satchel and put it over her shoulder, over her head so it crossed her body. Then she hefted the gun case up and threaded her arms through the shoulder straps and snapped the chest clip. As Kimberly and Abigail headed out of the gym, one of the preteen parents spoke up. Lieutenant Moore, why does Lieutenant Jackson call Teddy's cousin Sure Shot? Because she's a very good sniper. She took out the driver and passenger of a truck loaded with explosives ammunition with one shot and didn't hit any of the explosives or ammunition. She is a sure shot, Michael said with a bit of pride in his little sister as he heard gasps coming from the Van Horns and Smith. But she's only 13, the first girl exclaimed. Physically, yes, but mentally, I think she's 25 at times. Is she going to be a young Marine? Another girl asked. Nope. She's part of Lieutenant Jackson's SOG, Michael answered with a bit of stress in his voice. But Lieutenant Jackson said those are going to be 16 and 17-year-olds, one of the boys protested. She is one of the aberrations that Lieutenant Jackson is bringing into the SOG. However, Abigail is going to get at least 3 years of training before she's eligible to deploy out of area, barring any unforeseen event that would make her have to do so before that. Besides, she has watched the PTSD videos more than I have. Her mind is in the right place. She views the Heaven Devils gang as the subhuman vermin they are. Okay, did that melt off of there? Okay, I hear the something being delivered out here, so I'll be right back. So stand by. Okay. Hang on. Okay, we're going to change things up here a little bit. I just had some stuff come delivered here. And so I'm going to do an unboxing and unbagging just for you guys. And we will see how many people come back and watch it here. So first, this, there it is, has one of these little zip tie openers here. There we go. I can get this off. Yes. Do my famous bag toss. And so this is this is something I got here. This is the healthiest version of an energy drink that I've been able to find. And it was also recommended by Dr. Eric Berg on his channel. That's why I started getting this. So that is something I need. And I'm trying to remember what was in here. So we've got a box in here. So everyday carry, folks. Oh, yeah. Something I got for the prepper garden, for the orchard. So this is the fixed copper fungicide for the fruit trees. And this is the fixed sulfur plant fungicide. Get rid of this. Yeah, so these are for the fruit trees here outside here in the garden, and that is for to get rid of stuff like the peach leaf curl and some of the other mites and stuff that they were starting to get last year at the end of the year. So I go as soon as I have another clear day here without rain, which looks like today's Thursday. Yeah. So probably Saturday, because it's supposed to be 45 on Saturday. It says 42 tomorrow, but we'll have to see what it looks like. I will get back out there and I'll take care of the fruit trees so they're nice and healthy and they produce nice big apricots and peaches and stuff. So, all right, so let's get back to the book here. All right. All right, let me see here. Where was that? Trying to figure this out here, where I'm at. She used the Heaven's Devil's gang as a subhuman vermin they are. Julie, one of the moms, said, "Are you okay with your daughter killing these gang members?" "Yes and no," Julie Van Horn replied. "I would rather she didn't have to do it, yet I'm proud that the Marines and Rangers respect her talent so much that they regard her as one of them. The fact that she has kept others from having to charge the enemy by killing those animals." Julie stopped being choked up with emotion. "She's not our daughter. The adoption was never completed," Michael interjected quickly. "The person doing the filing died before the paperwork could be finalized. No one caught it until Abigail went looking for her birth family and found me," Michael sighed. "Long story short, Abigail's my baby sister. She wants to stay in touch with the Van Horns, so now she has 2 families. Don't bug her about it. Period. Michael glared. The glare in Michael's eyes was cold and hard. May I ask what she shoots? One of the fathers asked politely. A 72 caliber Zeus with an 8 by 76 power scope, Colonel Houston said as he approached. Lieutenant, I need to speak with you. He motioned to the tables, back to the tables with a slight tilt of his head. All right, so we're going to cut right here because we've been at it for 3.5 hours. So I'm going to highlight this as the starting point for tomorrow. There we go. We're set there. And yeah. See, hang on. Let me go ahead and get over here. All right. And take care of that. So today's Thursday. Tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific time, is the Midnight Ride. We got some interesting news articles to cover and froze and some other things to go over. So with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. But tomorrow we'll finish. We'll work some more on Chapter 6. So tomorrow will be Chapter 6 Part 2. I don't think we'll finish it tomorrow because Chapter 6, it's all in one day, but it's a really long day. So we'll do Part 2 tomorrow. Friday on Camp Patton Family Compound, the topic is seed starting. So we're going to be talking about, starting seeds indoors, outdoors, when you can plant outdoors, because of the cold and stuff, ways to plant indoors to increase your outdoor garden. And we'll touch a little bit more on an indoor garden, things you can do year round. Saturday on Survival Saturday. Well, Saturday, of course, in the morning we'll continue this tomorrow morning. Saturday morning we'll continue this again. Only we start an hour earlier on Saturday and Sunday. We start at 10 o'clock Eastern instead of 11 o'clock Eastern in the morning. Saturday afternoon we'll be live with Shadow Scout Swede streaming on my channel. Shadow has the topic in mind. I just can't remember what it is, but it will be out there. I'll be talking about. I'll know what it is by tonight. Should know it by tonight or tomorrow night on the nighttime live streams. For Survival Saturday evening, only on my channels. After the banks are taken over, what are your plans? So we'll talk about financial stability and stuff like that tonight. And then Monday on Camp Patton Family Compound. Okay, I'm having a hard time remembering what it is. So I got to look at the cat here, and it is, recanning or represerving bulk food. So we'll talk about get a big number 10 can of something, and you want to recan it or freeze dry it or dehydrate. We'll talk about all the ways of preserving bulk food you get cheap by getting in the big cans into smaller servings, so you don't have to worry about wasting it. All right. So, and then Tuesday here on Gray Man Prepping is you can only have 15 types of canned food. So it's like canned tuna, chicken noodle soup, so 15 types of food. What 15 are you going to select for the types that you can have? All right. With that, we're going to wrap this up here now. And just want to remind everybody, stay happy no matter what life throws at you. Stay safe. Don't go out and anything foolish. Keep adding to your preps. Water, food, medicine, clothing. Learn a new skill every month, and we'll see you around.